everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I am your host, Ben Hanson, joined as always by Wolf Blitzer's best friend down there, Tim Turi.
Hi, Wolf. You may have heard Wolf talking about me. Him and I are good friends. Wolf Blitzer, a newsman and a good man, good family friend.
Tim Turi featured on CNN.com.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
And a lump in your
I was wondering what the connection was. It was because of that dumb Star Wars tweet. One of my most unremarkable tweets, I think.
What is your most remarkable tweet?
Oh, let me get started.
What's this dumb Star Wars thing?
Joe, you haven't introduced yet, so.
Yeah, Joe, stay absolutely quiet.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Joe. Okay.
Hi, Joe. As you may have noticed, on Monday there was a new Star Wars trailer.
Oh, that's what that was.
I was gonna do my thing where it's just like, I'm not watching this because I'm gonna see it in theaters anyway, so let's skip this. And then I just someone tweeted it out, and I'm like, okay, I'm just watching this. And that's basically what I tweeted. I was like, oh, I was going to be a purist and skip the Star Wars trailer. Then I watched it, and now I'm just sitting here with a lump in my throat because it put a lump in my throat. I'm really excited for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. And CNN's like, we got to get this hot scoop from one Timothy Turi.
Tim Turi on Star Wars?
Breaking news, lump in man's throat.
It's like Wolf Blitzer's in the room. This is crazy.
Yeah, he sounds like a cartoon wolf. Interested in a bunny dressing up as a female wolf. I don't know.
All right, we're also joined on this podcast by Joe Juba.
Yeah.
Jose Hune himself, and then one Kyle Hilliard.
Hey, Tim, you found your hoodie. You lost it last week. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got
Good
it.
job.
Thanks.
Good story.
Only if you're watching on YouTube, will you get that tasty little morsel
It's a lot of Easter eggs on the YouTube version, but
in my pockets?
this is a good episode. I know ahead of time this is a good episode. We're covering two big games. Holiday season has officially begun. I think it probably did a couple weeks ago, but we'll say right now it's begun because we have Assassin's Creed Syndicate that Joe has played an unhealthy amount of.
Yep.
And Kyle Hilliard, who's dabbled a little bit with Zelda Triforce Heroes.
I've played a lot of Triforce Heroes.
I'd argue he's beaten
You
it.
could say he reviewed it.
That's right. I also want to touch on Life is Strange. Tim, I want to talk to you about Fatal Frame Wii U, which I have not even asked you one question about so far, so I'm excited
delicious.
about that. And then, obviously, the email section, some other stuff in there. And then for the final segment, we're not doing an interview, shaking things up a little bit. We're going to just run down.
We're interviewing each other.
That's right. We're running down the holiday release calendar because I always like having that template in mind, like that framework of what is coming out before what? How am I going to have to schedule this? What should I actually spend money on?
I think for
Christmas?
a lot of people, the holidays, and maybe rightfully so, given the hype, is oh yeah, Fallout 4 is coming out. But there's a lot of other stuff that I think is being overshadowed by Fallout's release, and
Right.
we're gonna try to dig into that. And
Actually, I only have Fallout 4 on this list.
can we cut this? Oh, can we edit this out? And are there more games?
All right.
Hold on, I'll get my phone.
Should we start out talking about this Assassin's Creed Syndicate?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Joe. This is the new British Assassin's Creed. All new, all British.
All the time.
What'd you think of this thing?
That's right. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's so obviously after Unity last year, I think some people were a little bit reserved in their enthusiasm for Syndicate.
I feel like enthusiasm was dwindling even before Unity.
Well, I think there's a degree that any sort of annual franchise gets of fatigue anyway, and and so I don't think there was anything new. I think that's been going on with Assassin's Creed for a while. I don't think there were new levels of done with it going on. But I think that the sort of to not put it politely, there were just some catastrophic technical problems with Unity at launch. So a lot of people just decided to check out.
Yeah.
I feel like they recognized that with Syndicate. And
is there an apology in the beginning of the game?
No, well, they did apologize publicly for Unity and gave people free games. And
they're actually really generous.
Canceled their DLC and stuff.
Yeah. So, but all of that being said, there are I don't think that Syndicate is just it's not like they totally just took that whole year to polish this game and it's this glitch-free experience.
Right.
But they definitely got a sense that people's patience was wearing a little bit thin, or was wearing thin after Unity, and they kind of are trying to make good. Part of that comes from Syndicate just eliminating any multiplayer component. There's no co-op, there's no competitive multiplayer. It's just a single player experience.
Do you think that's to make it more stable, or is it just because maybe the multiplayer stuff wasn't as well received as they thought?
A lot of the problems with Unity, like some of the more serious problems, were happening in co-op missions at launch.
Oh, okay.
And I think there's also a sense of just people feeling if a game comes out and has this multiplayer mode, but then the single player mode falls flat, then they tend to blame the multiplayer mode as like diverting resources and stuff. So like I think Ubisoft's approach to it was just sort of like, we're just going to like consolidate. We're going to focus on making like, we're going to kind of go back to what we know is the core Assassin's Creed experience.
Right, which they haven't done since, Assassin's Creed 2 of not having a multiplayer component?
Black Flag?
No. Black Flag, I think, did. But it just wasn't ship combat.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it did. I remember seeing that at a trade show.
Okay.
But this is also a new team.
Yeah, so this is Ubisoft Quebec. Again, assisted by every other Ubisoft studio.
Right.
But,
random people on the sidewalk, Ubisoft's like, please, would you help us with Assassin's Creed?
But Quebec is taking the lead on it as opposed to Montreal, which I think is normally the lead studio on this.
For sure.
So, boy, there's just so much to talk about. Like that's sort of the intro to like the situation with it.
Sure.
Syndicate, from a story perspective, is set entirely in 1868 London.
Now, when you say entirely, do you mean like no future stuff, or?
What I mean is that it's got like previous Assassin's Creed games. The timeline kind of gets away from me when I play them, where it's like because the character models don't change as characters age and stuff. Sometimes I lose track of the fact that like, oh, this game was supposed to span 12 years. Mm-hmm. But you never really get a sense of like how much time is passing between missions and stuff. So it's always a little fuzzy. So this game is at least like explicit that like this is all just 1868. There's no weird like time jumps. You're not supposed like that fuzziness of the setting is gone. As far as the future stuff, there is some future stuff in it.
Okay.
And
so they went back to the future. Oh, I just got a big old eye roll from Joe. Hey, we're recording on Back to the Future Day. I just wanted to create some connective thread.
Fans appreciate it.
So let me rephrase that. So there's this future stuff again in there.
And also, and Joe hates Back to the Future. Okay.
No, I love that's
too late. It's too
I
late.
love that.
Move on to Assassin's Creed.
So, and then there's some other stuff. Like I won't to say too much about it as a spoiler, but like,
the future stuff.
No, there's what we know. There's what we know of as the future stuff, which is like, assassins that you might be familiar with from previous games in the present day. Like they do play a role, and you get to see some stuff with them. But,
more so than Unity did.
Yes.
Okay.
There are actual like cinematic cutscenes, but not playable sections having to do with like what's going on present day.
Okay.
Then to not spoil anything, but to still point it out that like there is a section of the game that is not 1868 London that you get to play. Mm-hmm. But that's part of the fun is like discovering that for yourself. So I'm not going to say more.
Right. Well, I remember Unity got kind of freaky jumping around in the timeline within the one city.
Yeah. That's a good sort of analog for what's going on.
Okay.
For what's going on in Syndicate.
So I have a kind of a broad question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I kind of fell off after 3. I dabbled in Black Flag. I touched Unity for like an hour.
The case?
Just the case. One of the things that are just become like increasingly intimidating about those games is the scope of just like opening that map and just seeing a million things. And like in Unity, like maybe that was, maybe one of the reasons that it got kind of out of hand. Has the scope been sort of brought in a little bit in a good way? Like it sounds like a negative thing to say, but I would like to see it kind of scaled down a little bit.
Maybe in some ways. Before I answer that directly, I want to sort of set the stage a little bit because like what's going on in Syndicate is that you control Jacob and Evie Fry, who are like 2 twin assassins, who I should point out at the beginning of the game are already like skilled assassins. So it's not like Arno, it's not like Ezio.
It's not another origin story.
Yeah, or Connor. You don't get this whole like origin of like how they became like you start and they're assassins.
Right.
They talk about how their father trained them and stuff, so you know that that's how they got there, but there's not a big like lead up to it.
Okay.
They go to London to try and take it back from the Templars. Basically, London is a completely like Templar controlled city.
So all the bourgeoisie people sitting on top oppressing the lower class is they're the Templars.
Yeah,
okay. Basically,
yeah. If there's some like fancy pants politician or banker or someone, they're a Templar.
Is Jack the Ripper a Templar?
That's DLC that's coming out.
Oh, really?
later.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
It's called Jack the Templar. They changed it completely. It's a little bit more spelled out.
What about Darwin? Where's he at?
He's in there.
Okay.
Yep. And so this is actually a thing that's a little bit not my favorite thing about the game is that like there's a sort of parade of notable historical figures that
Assassin's
that you
Creed's
see.
never been known for that.
Well, no. But what I mean is that, like, compare it to something like Assassin's Creed 2, where, okay, so you have, like, the Borgia, or, that's 2, where you have, like, the Borgias, who are actual figures, but they also sort of serve as antagonists, versus, like, the only missions you're really taking are, like, hey, your buddy Leonardo is going to give you some missions. And then this one's, like, you take missions from Karl Marx, you take missions from Charles Darwin, you take missions from Charles Dickens.
Is it really preachy too? Like, is Mark's like, boy, I've got some ideas. Sit down. I'm going to talk your ear off.
He's really, yeah.
Alexander Graham Bell's another one.
Yep,
right?
Alexander Graham Bell's in it. Florence Nightingale's in it.
Wait, what is Nightingale doing?
Well,
Hottie from history.
you want her number?
That's what her DLC is called.
So, so these are all, they're more like side missions that you can undertake. It's not like during the course of the main story, everyone is like, it's not some who's who of history just like walking in and out of every scene.
Is Tesla in
But
there?
it's in there.
Is it the right time frame?
You think it would be? I mean, he's
know.
in the order. I assume everybody that's in the order
Yeah.
would be in Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
How many werewolves?
So that's all to say that London is being controlled by Templars. So in a very sort of like AC Brotherhood style, you're basically like taking back sections of the city, like the 7 different boroughs of London. You're trying to like take them over gradually.
Classic open world like formula.
Right. Yeah. Far Cry does this too and stuff. So to get to your question about scope, what that means is that there are sort of levels to it. So on the top level, there's just you killing all of your like Templar targets. And that's the main story. That's what that does. Mm-hmm. The next level below that is the sort of like city takeover stuff. So that's where you go out and do these, different activities, take back different sections of the boroughs. And if you do enough of them, you get into a gang war. And then if you win the gang war, which you will, then you gain control of that section. Okay. So, and then the layer below that is generally just the like, hey, there's this collectible and that collectible that I want to go get. The map is large, so in that sense, the scope is increased.
Okay,
like it feels bigger to me than Paris. I don't have any like hard data on it, but it feels bigger. But I think part of a result of that is like the map does not seem so cartoonishly crowded.
It seemed like a Photoshop, like a parody of open world games in Unity.
Yeah. You open up Unity's map and you can barely even see the map for all of the like icons everywhere.
Okay.
So there are still a lot of icons of things for you to collect, but I don't think it's hard to sort of as you're playing, it's pretty clear like which of these things that you can do are the sort of like priority things and what are the ones that you do if it's just like, I have some time to kill. Maybe I'll go collect some pressed flowers.
Right.
Optimistic. Like that's like makes me feel better.
Yeah.
The game.
Yeah.
too.
Also, you said Brotherhood, which I really like Brotherhood a lot in terms of Assassin's Creed stuff.
Yeah. So this is Brotherhood is my favorite Assassin's Creed game, and Syndicate I think is my favorite one since Brotherhood.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know it was that high. Do you have a
Was Black Flag up there for you too? But after Brotherhood?
So yeah, I like Black Flag for sure better than 3. So my problem with Black Flag is that it is more from like a storytelling and like Black Flag is a good game, and I don't know that it's a great Assassin's Creed game.
Right. If it was called Pirate Adventures 2, it'd be like, well, hell of a game here. Yeah.
We'd all be confused why it was a sequel, but
I mean, and not that you necessarily like leverage a franchise expectations against the quality of the game or anything, but it's just like as I was playing, it felt like it fell short in the ways that it would try to be an Assassin's Creed game, but then it wouldn't, and then that sort of just felt like a failure. Especially from the narrative, from a narrative perspective.
Well, an interesting thing with the history of AC and U is you just sort of featured for the website not too long ago about kind of defending Unity or how they've really patched Unity up into good shape and it's worth going back to. So would you say like the gameplay of Unity at this point is on par with Syndicate?
Oh, I think Syndicate's better than gameplay wise is better than Unity.
Okay. Did they simplify the controls again?
So here's my general sort of thought on Syndicate is that it takes a lot of the so every Assassin's Creed game sort of takes some familiar stuff and then tries to like spice it up with some new stuff. And some of those things work and some of them don't. Like lock-picking mini games in Unity.
Always work.
Or
Tower defense.
Tower defense
only
in
want
Revelations. Yeah. So sometimes those things work and sometimes they don't. And to me, Syndicate feels like a solid collection of the things that have worked in the series before. It does a few things new on its own, and those things I feel like are well done. So in my mind, the biggest new thing in Syndicate is the addition of the zipline navigation mechanic.
It's just the Batman grapple?
Yes and no. Like conceptually, it's very similar, but it strikes a balance between what I would call like the traditional Assassin's Creed like scrambling over stuff parkour and the Batman like just grapple glide all over the place sort of thing. You can't you don't have the continuity or like the flow to just grapple all over the place. But at the same time, it's nice that you don't need to I can't jump over that building, so then crawl down the side of the building, go to the street, crawl up again, try and go, oh shit, there's an awning. So then you have to crawl down a little bit and so that's really the effective thing that the zipline does is like it removes something from the equation that I as a fan of the series was getting a little sick of, and that was the because it's not really platforming. It's like, well, I'm going to try and climb this tower. Oh, I can't get up there. Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Oh, maybe I can grab to that.
It got tedious. What started as an awesome showcase of animations and thoughtful environmental navigation just became tedious over the course of the series, I think. And there's games like Mordor, which is just let's just bound up the side of this thing.
Yeah. And so I think the zipline is smart in that it just sort of removes that boundary now. So it's like you don't need to tediously climb up like Big Ben.
Right.
You just there's Big Ben. And you just zip up to the top. So pretty much all of the viewpoints you can just zip right up to. You don't need to worry about clambering up to it.
But I feel like it's running on walls or having an instant dodge in Call of Duty where it's once they put it in, it's tough to have an entry where you can take it out again, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they'll be able to go back from this now.
If the series continues to move forward in time, then I guess they could only come with more clever ways to get around. It'd be interesting for the navigation to evolve with the technology of time. Still hay piles, or what's going on there? Because eventually they're going to be in, I don't know, the 1980s. And I don't know. In
jumping out of airplanes.
Miami, there's a lot of hay. There's this hay storage that accidentally washed up on shore. We don't know what to do with it. Just put it on every street corner.
Get your hay.
There are a lot of leaf piles in London. It's a lot more leaf than hay.
Got it.
Things are different in Syndicate, I see.
Yeah. So, but that's in my mind, that is the big major addition to it. But other things that have been refined from previous entries that I really like is the leveling system from Unity.
Yeah.
Which to me was frustrating because you start out it feels like you have to level up to just reach a basic level of competency that you have at the beginning of every other AC game. You know, it's I have to buy the ability to double air assassinate.
I thought these guys started as master assassins, and then they have to scramble to catch up with interesting contrast there.
Well, yeah. So in this one in this one they don't. So they basically start out as what you would expect an assassin to be able to do, more or less, and then
assassinate.
Yeah, they can do that. Yep.
Okay, got it.
But no, so generally the upgrades that you're buying for them are things that just take something they're already good at and make it better. So EVs, they generally play the same. There's not even though the game positions Jacob as much more of a brawler and Evie is much more of a stealth character, they have access to practically the same skill set. Each one of them has I think it's 3 high-level skills that only they can use.
Okay.
And those skills do make a big difference. So like late game, if you want to do something stealthy, you are noticeably better off with Eevee. And if you want to do like a fight club, you're noticeably better off with Jacob because of those like high level skills.
Do a fight club.
Yeah, they're like little, like bare knuckle boxing clubs.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like boxing gentlemen.
Yeah. Well, they're not really. It's more like that scene in Sherlock Holmes. You see the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock
Or
Holmes?
it's like that scene in Fight Club.
I don't know.
It's not as much like the Fight Club scene.
Okay.
Anyhow,
I know what you mean, Joe.
and so generally the characters don't play super different apart from those distinctions. But now I forget where I was going with that.
Oh, you're talking about the progression and whatnot. But Reiner mentioned something interesting about this game.
Oh.
In that front is just like the leveling. He said it was much more RPG inspired.
Yeah, and I think it's actually a lot more elegant than it was in Unity also, because like Unity, a lot of things weren't necessarily. It was hard to see necessarily how everything fed into each other. It's like, okay, so I do things in Unity and get assassin points. But what do I spend? Like assassin points and skill points are different, and how do I spend the point being? The loop is a lot clearer in Syndicate, where it's like pretty much anything you do, any mission, gives you experience. When you get 1,000 experience, you get a skill point. When you spend a certain number of skill points, you gain a level. When you gain a level, you can equip new gear that you can then use to go out and do better, like do harder things, get more experience, blah, blah, blah. So like,
Okay.
like the loop feeds into itself a lot clearer.
I'm getting a little excited about this game.
I hope so.
I haven't
I really
played
like it.
through an AC since AC3, and the idea of like, hey, it's a simplified kind of pure version of ACs. I think I'm on board for that.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to roam around London.
And the other thing, like Reiner said, it is a lot more. It does have more RPG style elements to it, in the fact that like, okay, so your character does have levels. It caps at 10, so it's not like you're going up to level 50 or whatever. But your enemies also have levels. So if you like, for instance, if you like wander over to Westminster,
Oh Lord, help you.
the enemies over there are like level 9. So if you get into a scrape over there, like you're gonna have a lot harder time doing missions and stuff, because just because of the level disparity if you're lower.
That makes scrapes hard over there. What about a scuffle?
Scuffle, a brouhaha.
What
they're
about
all,
Fuffle?
they're
Okay.
all, yeah. I mean, they're all equally different.
Okay, got it.
The fight in the dog show over there is a real son of a gun.
Is there a Westminster dog show side mission where you just raise pooches and
And you have to be the lady to stealth her way in like a giant dog costume.
no?
And then she just leaps on a man.
The twins, one's the front of it, one's the back of it, and you have to use both controllers like two brothers to control
keep
them.
it steady back there.
Oh, right,
God.
beat a
And this-
horse's ass then.
And so is this in the game, Joe?
Sure. Yeah, why not? Let's say
You
it
just
is.
haven't gotten there yet. Okay.
What's your score for this game?
I'm not 100% sure right now.
All right.
We're recording this
A day early.
Yeah, we're recording this on Wednesday, and the review embargo lifts on Thursday, and I'm still
Sure.
I'm still between a couple scores.
Things
But
are
it's up there.
gestating.
It's high.
Okay. What
Percolating.
are there any hints of where they're going next? That's almost the most fun thing about AC at this point, is for trying to figure out where they're going.
The main hints about where they're going. Oh, you mean for like main setting wise?
Yeah.
Not. I mean, do they do that? I guess I didn't get a hint.
Sometimes they tease it out.
They've hinted in previous games about like other places they could go,
Right,
Like in
right.
like Abstergo emails and stuff.
Yeah,
but I don't
yeah.
think there's. And I don't remember anything in previous games that sort of hint like, oh, we're going to London
Also,
next.
in a post Assassin's Creed Chronicles world, that was the name of it, right? Was that the name
The
of the
downloadable.
Part 2 and
Yeah.
3 is still
China.
coming,
Yeah,
apparently.
I'm just saying, like in where that's like, was that China?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
China.
like where that. Given what they're hinting at, in some cases, maybe the payoff isn't worth getting excited about all the time, because was not into Chronicles
Yeah.
Well, like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed apparently exist in the same universe.
and Watch Dogs, right?
So maybe we'll go
And I
back
think
to like
Rayman's also in there.
the primal era, like Far Cry. Maybe that's where Assassin's Creed's going.
What if Assassin's Creed in the future is just we find out that Sam Fisher is an assassin
It's
Okay.
totally
and
possible.
Langley
Well,
are
the
a
joke
bunch of
I've always
Templars.
heard is that it's leading up to Batman's origins. Is that he's just in a long line of assassins who
an
decided to
assassin.
stop killing.
that could be. Ubisoft needs to buy Warner.
That's probably cheap, right?
Yeah. I'm
Hello,
sure.
Warner Brothers. How much are you selling for?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, that old thing?
I'm sure Ubisoft could
Can we get
afford
a
it.
quote on Batman? You guys looking to get rid of that?
That's still my ultimate fantasy is just to walk into some place and just see if I can get a price tag on anything. Like when we were in Japan on the Dark Souls cover story trip, my dream was to go to the Konami headquarters and just be like, seriously, guys, how much for Sunset Riders? Like,
Reach into your back
give me a
pocket,
number.
pull out your wallet, lick your thumb,
Yeah.
and make like you're about to page through. Like,
I'd suck on my thumb.
And instead, it's just an airport Sbarro receipt.
that's correct.
But seriously, how much would the Sunset Riders license cost? Like 200,000?
I don't know.
You
missed
could
your
buy a
opportunity.
house, or I could buy Sunset
I'm pretty
Riders.
sure that Konami's bringing that one into their grave, and they're going to say, "Bury me with my Sunset Riders."
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
IP.
As anyone would do who owned something so valuable. Yeah.
correct.
I think you could be buried with an IP, like the deed to an IP. Like, go ahead and try and get a gravedigger.
Sadly, Ben Hanson, I think that the Sunset Riders IP is going to ride off into eternity without
Oh, Jeff
another...
Cork joke, everybody. All right, that's good. But Syndicate, check it out.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to get at.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I think one of the things people didn't like about Unity was the combat and how the combat felt a little bit like sluggish at times, and it was a lot harder than it had been previously.
Yeah, their pitch was like, oh, it's more deliberate. It's more Dark Souls-y, as they pitched it on the cover story.
They said Dark Souls?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't Dark Souls. It just felt slow and unresponsive.
So
Oh, Dark Souls-y.
Yeah,
Hey, all right. I hope the mic picked that up.
I like Dark Souls.
but I guess for me it was frustrating in Unity because I felt like the game wasn't doing what I was telling it to do.
Well, what do you want from a game? Come on, Joe.
But that's for me in Syndicate. That's different. Like it goes a little bit more again to sort of go back to Brotherhood. It reminds me a little bit more of the like you've got a group of people around you and you're sort of. It is a little lame in that like I wish more people would attack you at once.
It's the very much polite taking turns.
It's the
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z. Oh, I can't wait for my turn to get in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Which at least I think that they got that right in some previous Assassin's Creed games, at least where like you felt like you were in a bigger group of attacking dudes and stuff. And in this one, it's a lot more sort of like people standing around to take.
Well,
but
they're very polite. You know,
even
it's
so,
English culture.
even so, what I like about it is the fact that early in the game, if you try and engage with an enemy that's like considerably above your level, like you're going to feel that disparity, and that fight is going to be harder. But then you also get the payoff of like once you level up, once you get new skills, and you go out and you like try and take on a group of those guys. Now, it's it's more satisfying, even though it is easier. There's more of a sense of payoff to the ease because it's like, yeah, I've gotten better at this now, and like now I'm taking these guys down who were beating me before.
Right.
It's always
right.
satisfying.
So anyway, yeah, sorry to prolong the Syndicate discussion, but
No, it's fine. What we got you down here, man.
Sometimes we got to take the transition and segue by force, though.
I don't understand. Kyle,
But-
can we just talk? Kyle, Zelda
By
Triforce
Force
Heroes.
Heroes.
Triforce Heroes.
The new Zelda game on 3DS.
Yeah.
You've been
comes
playing
out
it.
tomorrow when this podcast comes out.
Yeah, it's a
Yep.
whole Friday release.
Yeah, I played through it all. I played a bit of it. I played a lot of it cooperative with 3 players, with you and other Ben, and then I did play a lot of it single player, which I think actually are both pretty satisfying ways to play the game.
I checked out the single player version because I was curious about it. It seemed like a little bit of a hassle having to switch
Now-
between those players the entire time. Like, what did you enjoy about the single player
So
version?
the thing that which I wrote in my review is like the thing about playing cooperative, which it does really well. Like I think it does a good job of giving everyone jobs and like everyone's doing something important, and I think it does well with that. But when you go single player, like it is a little bit more of a hassle because you actually have to control each of the 3 links. But the thing that I liked about it is that you have total control. Like you
And you're a
can-
freak.
and I am a freak for that. Yeah.
let's zoom out real quick. So
Yeah.
Triforce Heroes meant to be played 3 players. You each control Link. You're going through dungeon after dungeon, just of puzzles only. It's like it's
There are some combat focused ones.
combat and puzzle focused dungeons. It's
Yes.
like a highlight dungeon thing. You can become totems and stack on top of each other
Yes.
to solve puzzles and situations
These are
like
all
that.
accurate. things.
Retails for $49.99.
Not 2-player.
So my question though is like, if I was a big fan of like what was the last one, Link Between Worlds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not a game like that. This is not a traditional Zelda game.
No, not at all. The way the sort of structure of the game works is like you have this kind of hub village, Hytopia is what it's called, which I like because like it's it's kind of silly. Like the whole game from the very beginning is really sort of recognizes that this is like kind of a silly, low stakes like Zelda adventure.
Okay.
And what you do is you like go into the castle and there's this room where you go into the Drablands and that's where you select levels to play and you play a level and you come back home. You know, and you kind of have this like this base where you take the items that you collect in the Drablands and bring them home to create costumes, which give you power ups. There is a story there. I mean, it's not much of one. You know, a princess is in trouble, and her fashion sense was taken away. So
Is
she's
it
just
Zelda?
wearing this. No,
it
it's
Zelda?
not. Her name is Styla.
But she's wearing like, you know, like those creepy old timey dolls. Think of like, I don't know what a good example is. Like, there's an old Casper doll that was like the inspiration for Woody that John
we all know
Lasseter at
this,
Pixar
yeah.
was. Okay, but
We're all
anyways,
familiar with this reference.
anyways, when she loses her fashion sense, she just is like wearing this like
It's a black leotard with a hood.
right.
It
It's like-
reminds me of like Dieter from this is a weird old reference, but from SNL, like Dieter, just like black leotard, like interpretive dance almost kind of thing. where
German
Okay.
the
kid,
point
right?
isn't what they're wearing, but what they're doing. Like
I think I know what you're
Dieter,
talking
the least stylish
or
man on SNL.
let's talk about Big Lebowski.
Let's talk about it.
Like running with the scissors. That dream
Oh,
where they're all wearing
right.
like the
Yeah, yeah.
leotard. With,
That's
like,
exactly what Styla looks like.
Yeah.
true. Okay,
And the sort of the premise is that you're trying to like a witch curse her, so that's all she can wear, and she's really upset about it, Joe. I know
Okay.
you're concerned.
Yep.
Link should just keep walking by that problem.
You guys got
Things
this
to
one.
do here. I've conquered Ganon.
But
Please
see, the
show
idea
me
is-
to the Hytopia gas station, and I will. I'm gonna get some Hostess cakes and be gone.
Hostess cakes, and that's probably what they're called there. Yeah.
Okay, so what did you think of this game?
I gave it a 7.25.
Right.
It plays really well. It uses the same sort of art and the controls of Link Between Worlds. So it plays really smoothly and the action feels right and the puzzles are interesting. But the big problem with the game is it really wants you to dive into this loop and like replay levels. So you want to like there are 8 like sort of stages, and each one of those 8 stages has 4 levels within them. And when you beat those 4 levels, you get an item, and then you can like eventually use those collected items to make costumes. So what it wants you to
not
do,
like an equipment piece of item, because you get those
Yeah.
individually going into those quests.
yeah, you don't. All you have is a sword going in, and then you pick like, all right, for this set of 4 levels, I'm gonna be the bow and arrow guy. You be the bombs, and you be the hook shot, and then obviously
I want to
if
be
you-
the bombs.
You can be the bombs. You guys can switch. It's fine.
Wait, what am I? Can I be Ganon?
It's
You're
3 players.
Styla.
It's yeah. Put the hood up. Yeah. Well, that's actually
Good look.
It's it's only 3 player or 1 player. There is a 2 player mode where you can like compete, but there's no version where like you can just do 2 player through the dungeons.
I don't get that.
Yeah, it's
People could swap. Like, I understand it'd be confusing if you both chose the same person at the exact same time, but the odds of that happening frequently?
I asked him about that at E3. That was like one of my first questions when they showed
Yeah.
the game, and he said that they did like tests, and it just didn't work.
It was a
you know?
disaster. You can't imagine the horror that
3DS has
happened.
started on fire and everyone's eyeballs fell out.
What have we wrought?
Just gouge their eyes out.
Oh gosh. So that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like it would work. Like I have faith in Nintendo for saying like, look, this thing that you want isn't actually fun. We tried it out.
Yeah.
But when you play through the game, it seems like it would work if you just had 2 player, and then the 3rd player was just kind of you guys shared responsibility.
Yeah,
for that
Kyle,
3rd totem.
Kyle Hilliard.
That's me.
Tim Turi, Game Informer Magazine. Question for you about Triforce Heroes.
I know me from CNN.
Pertains to the loop you were talking about.
Yes. I didn't
Um,
finish that thought.
yeah, is made famous by CNN.
How's Wolf, by the way?
He says,
Good.
I wouldn't ask.
Stop talking about Twilight Princess. Get back to Triforce Heroes.
Oh God.
Oh my God! All right.
Okay.
So the question is, this loop. There's some games like Chibi Robo, force you to replay some levels in order to make progress. The Sonic Boom game for 3DS, it's built in to gate things so that you have to replay levels to like get more collectibles to actually progress. Is the only thing that you are held back from and forced to repeat levels is just the costumes? Can you just truck through the main story if you want?
Yeah, you can play each level once and get to the end boss of the
But
game.
then you're not really progressing as a character.
Yeah, like the
as a
main
player.
the main focus of the game is to unlock these costumes,
Yeah.
which are cool unlockables. They look cool and they do give you cool powers.
Give us an
the best
example.
one?
Yeah, what's the best one here? Other than the dress, which
Let's
is
see.
very cute.
Yeah, the dress gives you more hearts. There's a Tingle costume which gives you balloons, so that if you can fall off the edge 3 times without like losing hearts or dying. There was one.
Do you meet Tingle, then like remove the clothes from him, or is it just
No, I think that scene probably got cut.
okay.
I'm trying to think of something else. There's one that actually There's a lot that give you like just better attack powers. One of the ones that I kept using all the time just gave that sort of traditional Zelda thing where if you have full hearts you can sort of shoot from your sword.
It's laser sword.
I forget what that costume is called, but that was one that I unlocked that I used a lot. There was one that lets you shoot like 3 arrows at once.
So Legolas's outfit.
No. It was
Doesn't Link already kind of wear that?
Yeah, actually, now that you bring it up, it's like more elvish actually, the costume. Yeah, like he has like a cape and like his collars are more angular and his hat is like stands
You
up.
can also jump across barrels going down a dumb river with GoPros strapped to him.
Nice. Okay, but is there a forced love interest?
A forced love interest?
Actually, that is a good point, though. The forced love interest thing, because like I love a Zelda that's a little bit off the beaten path. Like I love Link's Awakening because like Zelda isn't in it, Ganon isn't in it, and so that sounds kind of exciting to have a Zelda that's different. People always complain about the Zelda formula, or some people do. Obviously, millions of people love it. But is it kind of exciting to have a different Zelda game that doesn't have Zelda in it? Presumably,
like one of the things I really like about the game is the tone and sort of the silliness and like even the characters. And there's a dude who's wearing like half a suit. Like, because he's been cursed too, or
Two-Face.
He only wear. Well, it's not like how Two-Face splits it down the middle of the face. This guy splits it like off the side of his face, so he doesn't have anything on his back.
Oh, like the first zombie you see in the Night of the Living Dead remake, where the back, like when you have to prepare a corpse and you have to put. Never mind. Is he just naked, little butt?
No, I think he has underwear on. But there's like weird characters like that throughout. There's this guy at the front of the castle who isn't allowed in because he doesn't have sideburns and pointy ears, so they won't let him in because that's the requirements to be a hero. You have to have blonde sideburns and pointy ears.
it's a lot of sideburns talk in the beginning, but like the overall tone is so jokey though, and so kind of internety, I guess. Like they're talking about like the costumes, like it's so adorbs.
Someone does say adorbs,
and they talk about like this costume's good for cosplaying.
Yeah,
and there's a character named Photo Bro.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I like.
I'm on board for it too
because it's just goofy, and I feel like the game recognizes that it's like I said. It's like this is low stakes Zelda. No one's in danger. We're just trying to get this woman's clothes back.
Just put like the James Brown cape on her and move on.
This sounds like the idea for like the 90th Zelda game. It's like, God, we have done this so many times. Can we like save someone's clothes?
Question for you. Before this game, let's assume that this is going to be one of the more like mixed reception Zelda games. Let's just make some assumptions.
Sure.
What before this was like maybe was it Spirit Tracks? Like continued to be.
Spirit Tracks is pretty rough. Four Swords. I mean, Four Swords is the easiest comparison because I think it was structured similarly too.
But Four Swords always felt like so half baked to me. Like it never felt like a full. This is Four Swords. Like people don't even know how to refer to it. Like, are you talking about the Link to the Past GBA edition, the weird GameCube thing, or the 3DS version that came out? Like, I feel like Spirit Tracks is the one that people point to as being kind of like I didn't know about. Spirit
Other than
Tracks.
like Zelda CDI and crap.
Well,
like
right,
that.
yeah, I'm talking about like actual legit Zelda
Yeah.
games. Do you think this will be like maybe the most mixed?
I mean. Personally, I liked this more than Spirit Tracks.
Wow.
I would say. Yeah. But like,
I like
'cause
Spirit Tracks.
It feels like a full Zelda game because there's a beginning, middle, and end, and everything. But like
That's all you need.
well,
but
Four Swords, it was just like a bunch of like cooperative levels. It didn't really.
This sounds
build in the
similar.
same
It
way.
really
Yeah.
sounds like
But
that.
I mean, is it fair to even call is this comparable to other Zelda games?
No, it's a totally different structure. Like it's more like an action game.
What about Link's crossbow training for Wii?
Oh, that's
you know.
That's my favorite. But that wasn't the difference though. Is that it's not called The Legend of Zelda: Link's Crossbow
Yeah.
Training. It's not called like Legend of Zelda: Hyrule Warriors.
It's just
you know?
Triforce Heroes.
No, this
Right.
one is Legend of Zelda:
Triforce.
Triforce
Yeah,
Heroes.
yeah, yeah.
So they put the precedent there, like, hey, this is mainline Zelda. But it just
I can see that.
Just playing a little bit with you, like it just felt like it's removing the kind of fun adventure aspect of Zelda and just having like all these little bite-sized breakout little missions. And like you talk about how the 2D gameplay is fun, but like I'm not a big retro Zelda guy, but like I don't find anything fun about the combat in 2D Zelda.
Kyle and I were talking about this, and it's like
It's
the
fine,
action. It's
you know?
fine. It's
It's
totally
totally
like delivers that. It serves its purpose, but I don't think anyone's ever saying like, let's just I need to go back and just slash up some monsters in Zelda. No, it's just one piece of a bigger picture. And I think the point isn't like you don't pick up Link to the Past and you're like, God, I'm only playing this time to get through this one dungeon. It's how they all fit together. So it's just not. That's just repeating dungeons is never been the point. It'd be like playing Super Metroid and like, oh, I'm just gonna go in a battle room. I'm gonna fight all these flying things. Like, man, I just love shooting things in Metroid.
And that kind of gets to the core problem of the game is like it really like I beat the game and only replayed a couple levels and I only got like a third of the costumes and that's kind of like the main focus of the game. And I just like it really wants you to replay these levels, but the loop just does not hook in. And like because like once you solve the puzzles. You know the solutions. You don't really. Then you're just sort of running through the motions when you go replay. And like we're saying, it's maybe too harsh to say the combat's not fun, but it's just not like a draw for Zelda. Like you don't go in there to be like, man, I really love beating up monsters. It's just it just grows tired pretty quickly, especially when it's like, well, and the other problem is like when you replay those levels, there's no guarantee that you'll get the item that you need because there's 3 chests at the end of the 4 levels, and it's like you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting the thing that you came in there to get to begin with.
That sounds pretty rough.
Yeah.
It sounds like a loot grind in a way.
It almost has like more in common with like a Destiny or Diablo.
Yeah,
but the loop just doesn't catch on.
Absolutely not how I would want to enjoy a Zelda game. I want to play this game. I want to get like 2 friends and just I'll have to make 2 friends and then just work through all of them, get whatever costumes I may, and then and see how I.
And a positive thing I will say, which like I don't know, Ben, you can attest to, because we were actually. You and Ben Reeves and I played, and we were all sitting next to each other. We were on a plane, to be fair, but like where it was loud. But we pretty quickly started using like the icons that let you communicate.
Because there's like 9 things. Six ways to communicate on the bottom screen, and so I think it's all you need. Actually, it seems like at first, like, oh, it's really limited. There's no voice chat in Zelda Triforce Heroes, but like for communicating, it's like, hey, over here, or like, hey, pick me up, or hey, use an item.
It worked pretty well. The funniest,
it really cracked me up.
It was so stupid because like Ben and I were like, Hanson and I were like, let's solve this puzzle, and we were both tapping Reeves, get over here, so it was just like on screen, get over here, and then like it would be a couple seconds, and Reeves would just press the link thumbs up button, and just like,
yeah, I got it, and it's like Reeves, get over here. That's the amazing part is how much comedy could be wrung out of that thing.
Just like that little picture of Link popping up on screen after a couple seconds of, hey, thumbs up,
or like
hey, I'm on my way.
Yeah. Remember, like I was like yelling at you, like get over here, and you came over there, and it was just me staring at a wall in the corner, and then I give like the shrug, like I don't know. I was just messing with you.
That's pretty good.
Or like the best is they have like a little cheerleader Link, just Link with pom poms, and if you tap it, every time you tap it, it alternates a different fist in the air, and so it's just really funny to like pick up the 2 other Links, chuck them off the edge, and then just start doing the pom-pom in the sky. You can have a lot of fun with the co-op with that. So if you have Zelda fans as friends, like it'd be worth picking up. But how does it work? You can only buy... There's a couple different ways. You can buy 1 cart, and that totally works?
Yeah, you can do download play, but it limits your costumes. I think download players can only have access to like 5 costumes.
But in the course of the game, how many did you end up with?
I think I had 9.
So you're actually, assuming that you're not being a completionist, you're not shortchanging yourself that much.
Yeah. And there's actually a cool touch of like doing download play, which is just something I noticed, is that the download players, the soundtrack actually changed. So it's like more like BitTune music.
Weird.
Which is just kind of a cool like touch.
Maybe it maybe it makes it easier to stream, between... That's bizarre. I want to know why that's the case.
I don't know. I think it's just kind of, like I said, I think it's just like a cool like... It's like just a signifier that that you didn't buy the full game, but you still get to play. Like,
so you're saying lesser? Are they saying that like classic?
How much standing up? Tim's getting angry.
Now, hold on a second. I'm not going to stand for this.
How much do you like BitTune music? I don't know. You're a fan, right, Tim?
Yeah, it'd be weird to be like, if I bought it and I wanted to play it with a friend, be like, okay, but you use the cart because I want to play. And use.
Oh, it's the real soundtrack.
Yeah, there just has like vuvuzelas over like the Zelda theme.
Yeah, it'd be funny if it was just like an orchestra tune-up instead.
I'm just looking for like the Jurassic Park melodica version.
Yeah,
there is by the way, there is a costume which kind of like I forget all the names.
Costume?
No, there's not a Jurassic Park costume. But there's a costume that like kind of makes you look square. Like you thought it was a Minecraft reference.
I thought for sure it was a Minecraft reference. You look exactly like a Minecraft character.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "No, you idiot! It's an 8-bit Link." I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes more sense."
I think it's called like the classic tunic, and when you wear that actually changes it to that BitTune soundtrack too, which is just kind of a cool thing.
Classic tunes with some classic
That's
tuning.
clever.
Yeah. So, like I said, 725.
That was a good one, Hanson.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It has it has some cool stuff. The co-op works really well, but just like the sort of total package and like the game it wants you to play, where you're sort of, like I said, I keep saying the loop, but like it never hooks in, and it's just like I really felt like I was grinding near the end.
That's a shame.
So
that's a shame. You can have fun in theory. Co-op in that.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of links to the past, I beat Life is Strange last night. The final 5th episode came out.
Okay, this isn't a spoiled though. You're not gonna like ruin anything, right?
Of course I am. Are you crazy?
I have not started this thing.
Yeah.
Here you go. Get ready. So the way the ending works. I'm not gonna spoil a thing.
This is a thing. Like for me, and I would be surprised if other people also didn't approach it this way. It's like I don't play episodic games episodically. Like
It's the smart way to go for sure.
yeah, I wait until they're all out, and then I buy the season pass or whatever collection, and then I like just go through them all at once.
Would it be easier just to talk about this thing as a complete package then, like more broad stroke, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. We feel like we've touched on episode 1 and 2 when they came out. I think it's been a while since we've talked about Life is Strange. Like, it's a lot of intrigue and weird stuff going throughout that series, and I was really curious how it was going to pay off. And it turns out in the end, pretty well.
Yeah,
that's good.
Like it gets bold, which is what I was hoping for, and it gets weird, which is also in every game. Those are the 2 things that I hope for. And
Bold and weird.
it pays it off. Like story wise, or a couple things. Was like, well, wait a minute, like. What? This doesn't quite line up, or how exactly does this work? But it's time travel. Like, you're going to expect that.
there's time travel in there.
It's all about, the whole series is about time travel.
I had no idea.
You didn't know that Life is Strange involved time travel?
Absolutely not. No, I thought it was about
okay.
like angsty teens.
Spoiler
like,
alert.
Angsty
dealing-
teams drifting through time.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
On a scale, so in the scheme of
scheme of the
driven
scales.
story-driven adventure games.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to Walking Dead season 1 being a 10, where is this?
What's a 1? Like
It's just not a good game.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
okay.
I like Back to the Future. In honor of Back to the Future.
Jurassic Park. Is that the terrible
All
one?
right.
Jurassic Park.
That was
there we go. Okay.
definitely worse than Back to the Future.
Okay.
Probably around a 7.
Okay.
It seems weird to assign a score to the thing that Kim is also reviewing
Oh, it's not,
separately.
that's
but
not a review score. It's just
no, that's the official review score. Reviews editor Joe Juba. I thought I made this quite clear.
No.
You've been focused on Assassin's Creed. Things have changed.
No, I mean,
boy.
at the end of the day, like, it's a novel experience. There's a lot of like Beyond Two Soulsy dumb crap in there that I'm just
boy.
in love with. But there's also
Wait, so like embarrassing?
oh yeah,
Like they're playing it straight faced, but it's an embarrassment. But you like
Yes.
it because of that.
yeah.
Is there more stuff to genuinely like than Beyond Two Souls? Because that's a very dangerous comparison. for me.
Yes, exactly.
as
But there
soon
are
as you say this game is like Beyond Two Souls, my
Right.
interest.
One of the most embarrassing video games of all time.
But I'd even argue with Beyond Two Souls, especially the ending. Like, I think there are some cool moments in Beyond Two Souls, and I think there are some really cool. And actually, there's one scene in particular in Life is Strange that really emotionally got me. Where it's like,
Okay.
this is a really novel thing that I haven't really seen in the game before.
Feelings?
emotions are novel to you.
That's right. I said, what's happening when I touch this liquid pouring down my cheeks? I really had to look in the mirror and find
I had to wipe it on my servo pants.
Joe, I take a lot of notes from playing games, and I always would write down the dumb lines in these games. I feel like we've touched on some of these before, but I want to touch on some actual lines of dialogue from Life is Strange, featuring some really angsty teenagers, as,
I'm into
as
it.
Tim put it. So my absolute favorite is there's a character named Warren, and early on in the series, he says that, he goes, "I'm getting my coffee on before I cut class and destroy some rails."
Talking about skateboarding.
That is an exact quote.
Whoa.
And this game
From
takes
Life is
place
Strange.
in 2014.
That's right.
And he
It's-
said that
but it's
in-
the Back to the Future 2 version of 2015.
Was he
Wait,
texting
wait.
this or
No.
No, he says that to you.
This has got to be like a gum commercial or something, right?
It's a gum commercial within Life is
Yeah,
Strange.
okay.
It's about time travel and shooting gum commercials. There's also a character who's kind of a baddie type of guy in the game. And forgive my language
Bad
here.
guy?
He's a bad guy. He's bad guy-ish.
Baddie never really works that well.
Yeah.
It works out better in your brain when you think it, and then you write it or say baddie.
Uh-huh.
It just doesn't
Because
work.
it sounds like baddie, like crazy.
Oh, like the
Warren
character from
Beatty.
Fern Gully?
So what was his?
He says, get off my crack, whore. Keep your pie hole shut.
Was he actually talking about crack?
Oh yeah.
No, he's saying basically mind your own business.
Wait, is
and
he
he
saying-
calls the main character a whore.
Like there's a person who is a crack whore. Get off my
no.
crack whore.
Get off my crack, comma, whore.
Oh, okay.
as
Keep
in
your
like,
pie hole shut.
as not crack as in the drug, crack as in like your
butt-
like get off my
buttocks.
butt.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay. Get off
He's
my
also like, he comes from a wealthy family, the Prescott family, which has a lot of influence in this small town. And he has like, he's going in their dorm rooms and whatnot. And on the whiteboard outside of his dorm room, he wrote, "Prescott's rule this town."
O'Doyle rules.
It's basically O'Doyle rules trying to play super, super straight. It's the go F yourselfie is a recurring theme with characters saying it repeatedly, and then like there's graffiti in the bathroom that says "Go F yourself." It's like their catchphrase for all of life is strange. It is a weird thing, but it's also one of the things that I like is just how mature it can be with the language and with some of the themes. They do a really good job.
That's been the real draw to me, is that it sounds like it just goes some places that I think people talk about that more than like it's time traveling or anything. Like I hear people just talking about the themes and the way they handle them.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
All told, the way that Joe is going to tackle this thing, and I'm going to as well, which is pretty much as one complete thing. How much time did you put into this?
Time tricky. God, the Steam counter. I think it's at like 16 hours last night, but there's no way that's accurate. So
Cool.
each episode is like 2.5 hours.
Okay, so
and there's 5 of them. And so if I was math, I could give you a number, but I'm
If I was
physically
math?
incapable of that.
If I was math?
If I was
about
math
12 and a half
personified.
hours?
Thank you, Joe. It's somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah, it works out pretty well. But yeah, I love that they talk about real world movies and like make a lot of pop culture references, which has its pros and cons. But then also, I think the soundtrack is great, and like there's just musical montages to like Bright Eyes songs.
Interesting.
I used to like Bright Eyes a lot. It's like, oh, this is cool to hear in a game. Or like Amanda Palmer is in there. So a lot of really interesting touches, a lot of really dumb twists, and really, really dumb moments.
See, man, your enthusiasm for all of the dumb stuff in here is bewildering.
I love it.
Like you're actually unselling me on this game a little bit.
Yeah?
In your enthusiasm for the terrible stuff.
Go talk to
You
Kim.
have a good sense of humor. Like it's worth appreciating and playing through just for moments to laugh at.
I can't.
But then there's
I
some
can't do
genuine
that if
stuff.
they,
And there are
if they
genuine
pl-
things in there too.
If
Yeah.
if it's being played straight, like unless it's like Earth Defense Force, like EDF, like campy sci-fi stuff.
Right.
You liked The Room, didn't you? By Tommy Wiseau? He's playing that pretty
okay.
straight.
It does a lot of like the stuff that really makes me laugh is like the dialogue when they're in a very serious situation, like matter of life and death, and they're saying stuff like, "Oh, wowzers," and just dumb stuff like that. Where it's like, I think everyone would get a little more serious in this situation.
Okay.
Also, okay, time travel premise, right? This game makes this simple mistake in time travel, and I want to make sure I'm not insane, but it's the dumbest idea. So, like, the characters are going through, and the main character has the ability to rewind time, which is cool because you can do that live in gameplay and stuff.
Yeah.
You remembering
Is this
when we
the
talked about
one
it
where
before?
it's a little bit like focusing in on what Remember Me was doing, and you could
It's the same developer, yeah.
Yeah,
So I didn't
oh.
play Remember Me, but
what's their name again? Don't
Nod.
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 Yep.
And it's like them focusing in on those parts in Remember Me where you could just like scrub through a moment in time and like redo choices and
yes,
stuff.
it is
Got
exactly
it.
that.
Okay.
You know the game we're talking about now?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just connecting with it. I'm just connecting it now that it's done with like the last thing I heard about it when I thought it was a preview game. Anyway, carry on.
Oh, anyways, so so the main character's ability to rewind time, and you're like going through a lot of situations with friends and whatnot, and the friend will always say like, "Oh, don't worry, like if something terrible happens, just rewind time." And so it's like, okay, that seems to work out well for the main character, but like some terrible things can happen to the friend, and then you rewind time, and then you carry on in this alternate dimension where it's like the friend doesn't remember anything.
But it has ultimate trust in you that you're going to do something with her in mind, I guess.
But wouldn't that character in the other timeline continue and just be brutally murdered in this way?
wait, I don't. You jumped somewhere. In
Yeah.
there.
I jumped through time? Okay, so I'm saying, let's say you
of
can
an
rewind
example?
time, Kyle.
Okay, that's me.
And I'm like, hey, you need to rewind time to take care of me. You're like, all right, can do. And then an anvil falls on my head. The anvil still falls on my head if you rewind and then push me out of the way. In that timeline, before you rewound, I'm still super dead. It's not like I will teleport back
You're
and know
saying-
everything.
Okay.
No, but yes and no. I guess what you're thinking of all of these, because in this game you're not jumping between different timelines,
Yes,
right?
you are.
You are.
Yes, it is big on that theme. There
Oh,
are
okay.
different timelines with different levels of knowledge. So it's not like you rewind time and then the character's like, whew, that was a close one. It's like that character is back exactly where they were.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, if the anvil falls on that, okay.
Wowzers, look out for that anvil.
What you're assuming is that, like, that time after the anvil falls, you assume that timeline persists.
Exactly. And I think it does. Based on the logic of this game, it does. But the
Okay.
way the characters act, they're like, it's no problem.
Having not played it, I don't know, but like it would seem to me that like the idea, instead of thinking of multiple like timelines, if you just think of one timeline, it's like, whoop, anvil fell on my head. Brrp. Nope, now it didn't. And then
Right.
you continue and it doesn't happen.
but the character will still feel the pain of that anvil crushing their skull.
In that moment.
This
but that's it.
is
You do like
confusing.
Hanson-
And you have lost me.
Yeah, are you implying that they would remember the future that didn't happen?
No, they don't.
Yeah.
So who
Seems
cares?
right.
I'm saying they should care. They shouldn't be like, oh, you have time powers, so therefore I'm immortal. Nothing can happen to me. It's like, you're not being around in time. You're being... Oh, sorry. I'm saying that character will still feel that pain, and they can't get out of that situation. All right, anyways, Life is Strange. It's weird. Check it out if you're in for a novel experience. Tim, speaking of novel, let's hear about taking pictures of some gosh darn ghosts.
So you have to basically get a lot of the game's story by reading a novel's worth of files.
Is that right?
In Fatal Frame. My God.
What is this, Fatal
Yes.
Frame 5?
This is the 5th main Fatal Frame game.
Not counting the 3DS.
Yeah.
There's
turd camera.
3 main ones on PlayStation 2. There was one on the Wii, and then this is the 5th main one.
Okay.
and this is eShop only.
eShop only. Yep. Maiden of the Blackwater. In fact, Kyle's coming off of Triforce Heroes and the repetition, that probably would have been a good segue into this as well. So basically, as I say as much in the review, let's zoom out. So you're taking pictures of ghosts, right?
Zoom that camera out.
That's the
are-
Fatal Frame thing.
That is it. It's basically a Japanese horror story. Zips through time a lot. You know, sometimes you're kind of in modern time, and then you're also in like a traditional ethno-Japanese setting, like, you know, an old shrine filled with dolls and stuff. And
The second one is one of the scariest games I've ever played.
I couldn't finish it.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
yeah, there's some real, like, early on in Fatal Frame here, like, there's some really creepy moments, and it builds like the atmosphere really well. And this is coming from someone, I just actually got goosebumps thinking about like The Grudge and like Ju-on and Ring-Yu, and like Japanese horror to me is some of the most effectively creepy stuff. And they hammer hard on that, especially like the water and hair stuff. Like, you know, if you remember, just like both Ring-Yu and Grudge would have scenes where it's just like long black hair coming and like covering people and coming from drains and stuff. They have like
Hair does it for
there
you?
There's even scares that are really consistent with like The Grudge and stuff. They evoke those movies, those sort of like anchor points for reference points for Japanese horror really well. And when you're wandering through these environments, and you know a ghost shows up or something happens, and there's just brief scares, like they work really well in the first 2 hours, and then it gets so repetitive. Those first couple hours, those first few hours, I feel really fresh and really original. And it's telling the story of 3 kind of would-be paranormal investigators that happen upon this camera obscura. And you end up investigating a burnt-out inn, a shrine with a hidden cave underneath it, and these woods. And you really you experience these places, and you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And like I'm piecing together the history of this weird old ritual involving like these maidens of this mountain and someone who went crazy and killed some of them, and then also this ritual where like people are like stuffed into these boxes, and it's weird. They plant good seeds, but then like, and you'll read about them in the files. You'll find these files, and there's more files, I feel like, in Fatal Frame 5 than like in the first 3 Resident Evil games combined. There's so many of them, and they're so repetitive, they're so redundant. They just cryptically fold back in on themselves like bad, like, you know, Tim Burton poetry or something like that. It's just really heavy-handed, like overly flowery, cryptic, like emo language to describe these rituals. And on top of that repetition, you know, one character might go and like, oh, I need to go and find out what the deal is with this mystery of these people that kill themselves on this mountain.
What's the deal?
And then that character will get lost. And like, oh, what happened to them? You'll play as another character the next chapter and just go through pretty much the exact same beats. In some cases, the same ghosts appear, and you have to have the same encounters to find them.
Just because it's a cheaper production, you think? And they try to cycle those
I cannot
environments?
make any assumptions about the actual game design. And from what I understand of the Fatal Frame series, this is actually sort of a legacy issue with it, where there was some repetition and backtracking and stuff.
Okay.
But multiple times, this has happened like 2 or 3 times. I loaded up a mission. I'm like, oh, well, and I wouldn't have even taken a break between play sessions at all. And I thought I absolutely booted up a mission that I beat. I absolutely did it. And I would like, no, sure enough, this is the mission I'm on.
Same jump scares and everything?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God.
I mean, they would repeat these so well. There's some things that they do really well. Some they lay one seed specifically that pays off later on in the game that they I can't really go into. If you're going to play through this entire thing, it's pretty creepy, but it has something to do with
A lot
just
of our audience is.
there's the way they build tension in those early hours that I was impressed with is just like there's this like when you go to pick up an item, there's this sound that happens and you slowly reach to pick up for the item, and sometimes like a ghost hand will come and grab you and you have to like let go of the grab item button before it grabs you. It's just a little jump scare, but like it really soaks in these moments where it's like I'm opening this door or this drawer, like what's going to be there. So when you're not doing that and exploring, you are trying to take pictures of ghosts, and
they're posing for you in the woods.
The novelty of the Wii U gamepad is that you're kind of using it like a big clunky camera and taking pictures, and you are using this sort of gyro in it. You're trying to use the screen, your TV screen, and then you kind of like lift up your gamepad and you kind of hold down this button to start using it to aim.
A little Star Foxy?
A little bit. It's almost like, I don't know, it's really hard to describe, but like you use that to try to like, you angle it so that you get as many ghosts and ghost faces, because like a ghost will appear, but then also like little spirit balls that sometimes have those ghost faces on them will like circle around them, and you have to try to get as many in frame as possible, and you'll get like 5 of these spirits in frame, and then there's like a little targeting system, and then it'll all flash red, and you try to hit the shutter button at that point and take a picture, and then you'll get a fatal frame, and then you'll be able to take rapid succession pictures and do damage basically and exercise these ghosts that way. But your peripheral is limited so much by the novelty, and the novelty that really wears thin on the gamepad, to the point where you're just better off playing it like a classic fatal frame game, where there's like sort of the silhouette, the frame of the camera frame or whatever on the screen, so you can get the peripheral, because it's just you're handicapping yourself if you try to use the gamepad in a serious way and you want to like, it's a survival horror game, like you have limited health items and stuff, and film is like more powerful film is like ammo in the game. So that's really clunky. The main like novelty for the game is really clunky, and the repetition just so grating.
Yeah.
If you're a huge fan of the series,
Right.
maybe if you go in with a 5.5, if you go in with the expectation, if you understand like, oh, these games have a lot of backtracking, for better or for worse, but I'm ready for this. If you're just a horror fan who likes Japanese horror and is interested in what this game is selling, like that sort of vibe, I think a lot of the PlayStation 2 games might actually even be on the PSN store. I think you might be able to get.
Or another route, like you're asking about like Japanese horror films.
I did, yeah. In the midst of reviewing, I like tweeted out, I'm like, I really got to wash the taste of this game out of my mouth. Like, any good Japanese horror suggestions for like just movies? And people had a lot of good suggestions.
What's the best?
I mean, I watched one that was more like the Evil Dead of Japanese horror, which was called House. It goes by Hanson, which is Joe, have you seen House?
Mm-mm.
Joe, I thought about you sometimes when I was watching this. It is just absurd. What's so beautiful about House is like they just build it up with just this happy-go-lucky band of like 7 or 8 just like Japanese like high schoolers or whatever, and like, we're going to my aunt's house for the weekend. Like I miss my mom, but I'm going to go hang out with my aunt. She knew her really well. And it's just so bubbly and saccharine, and they all have like their different personalities and stuff.
I Want Candy's playing.
It's like, oh, Kung Fu is the one who just is like really sporty and like she can kick ass. And then here's Gorgeous, and she cares about makeup. And then there's the one that eats a lot or whatever.
Sounds hilarious.
And they just all have their fates are all hilarious and over the top. But don't play Fatal Frame if you like good horror games. Yeah.
That's fair. Should we move on to the email section?
Certainly.
Let's do it.
All right, let's check out some emails.
Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We have some emails here.
Emails here.
You are welcome to email us with your questions, hypotheticals, whatever. podcast@GameInformer.com. We'll choose email of the week, send you a little thank you.
It's going to be the Lara Croft statue behind you, actually.
Yeah, you're going to deal with the shipping on that? Dismemberment? Yeah. Okay. We're going to start with Giovanni from
Rabisi?
Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. Hey, guys, I'm really hooked with your podcast, and I always listen to them on the mornings when I'm off to college. Keep it up. So sometimes when I play action-adventure games that are quite linear, Uncharted, Last of Us, Tomb Raider 2013, I'm reaching the end of the game, I feel like I still don't want to beat it because I'm enjoying it. So I limit the time I play the game just because I know that after I beat it, there's not much more to do and it's probably going to go back to the box. So my question is, when you play some linear games, do you limit the time you play so you don't beat it too soon? Or do you think that these types of games should offer more content so players don't send it back to the box after the credits roll? Giovanni.
I feel like putting Tomb Raider in that camp a little bit. I feel like there's some stuff you can go back and clean things up on the island in Tomb Raider a fair amount.
Yeah, more so than maybe the other games
Right.
mentioned.
Right.
I thought it was interesting. The reason I pulled this one is because like the concept of trying to stretch out
Yeah.
a game to play it long. I mean, like obviously we're in a weird
Exactly.
position because we just want to play as much as possible.
Right.
So we kind of end up like really prioritizing finishing up games.
Mm-hmm.
But do you guys remember any times where you were just sort of like really trying to stretch something out?
Yeah, I really loved. We talked about it actually a little bit earlier in this episode, but I loved in San Andreas, like slowly taking over all of the areas in that open world, like basically the gang wars in the Los Santos area. And I remember really taking my time with that, and like I wish I could have reset it because I love taking all those over so much. So like I'd go one at a time and be like, all right, next week I'll take over another one. And I still have one sliver of like a gang territory in San Andreas that I haven't taken yet because I'm saving it for, I don't know, the day I
When you're
retire.
80.
I don't know what the hell it's for.
Yeah,
but
finally.
it's going to be really satisfying
It'll be
when I take
worth
over
the
that
wait.
last section.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, for me, it's actually kind of like Syndicate is a good example that
Okay.
so I just finished Syndicate, and like I tend to, my interest once I finish a game, it's not even whether it has something to offer, it's just my interest in it kind of drops once I
Sure.
like, finish the story, obviously. But even in games like Assassin's Creed, where there's still lots of other stuff to go out and collect and stuff, so the way I draw it out is I will usually be like, well, if I want to collect, like, if I want to craft that, like, cool outfit or craft that ultimate weapon, I will hold off on doing the last mission and then go do all that stuff because I know that I'm not going to do it after I finish the last mission. And I kind of just want to see it and see if it's worth it. And I won't be able to muster the enthusiasm to, like, do it after, unless it's a game that, for whatever reason, I decide to, like, try and get the platinum on or something.
That's interesting because if I'm worried about like, I'm getting to that point where like, I'm kind of ready to be done. I'll usually just, this happened with Metal Gear, it's just like, I'm going to try to finish up this story. Actually, it's more so with The Witcher. It's like, I just want to get done with this story. And then if the game's good enough, if I'm left with good enough taste in my mouth, I will go and try to clean up stuff because the game will just be that good. But I think the other part of it is that like, now you stretch out these experiences by going for platinums or something. You find other reasons to go through it again and get the most out of it.
Yeah. The linear thing, I guess I can't think of a good example of like really taking my time. Like, all right, I'm going to watch one cutscene in Last of Us and then put it off until the next day.
Well, and part of it too is just like that's kind of the nature of those games. Is that, you know, like you're not playing some massive open world game. You're not playing like an RPG that actually has like a post game progression and ultimate bosses to work towards and stuff. And not like, I don't think every game needs that. I think it's okay for Uncharted, which is a cinematic experience, to have a very sort of point A to point B, and that's okay for that.
Yeah.
That's my 2
And
cents.
whenever you get done, you get done.
Yeah.
Unless you want, you know, a little dessert every single day.
Yeah.
So Tim from Indiana follows up. Hello, crew. I was wondering if you could give me some advice. I'm a full-time college student with a full-time job. I've loved games for as long as I can remember and hope to one day make a career of it. Hopes to work with us one day, actually. Between working 40-hour weeks and spending majority of my remaining time dedicated to classes, I find it almost impossible to find time for games. Sure, I try to dig into as much as I can on breaks, but I simply can't keep it up. I still have a massive backlog of old games, and I want to get to, but I also want to experience the biggest and best the industry has to offer. When I listen to you guys talk about the podcast, I really admire how informed all of you are. All of you really know your stuff and obviously played a good number of games in your lives.
And so handsome.
My question is, how can someone like myself, who has such a demanding life, keep up with everything in order to talk with authority on the games that your job requires? I'm able to keep up with podcasts, video previews. That's gotten harder for him. Did any of you go through a time like this? And if so, how'd you keep up? Just can't afford to lose any more sleep. Thanks for keeping the good work, Tim.
Man, we're really hot with the college crowd. Those college kids are super into us, Joe.
I absolutely went through that. Like, it's almost exactly the same because I wanted to be in the gaming. I wanted to be here eventually. So, I mean, all my commuting between college and work was always just filled with podcasts. And I actually kind of try to line up days off in school and work to like focus on a specific game. Like if there was a big game coming out, I might have even like used a banked like sick day. Like I think Halo 2 I remember came out, and I used my sick day to like just play it through it, straight.
Were you
Stuff
like
that.
writing blog entries about it then, or is it just so you could play through it and then just quietly sit on that information?
No, I didn't really start writing until near like the end of college, and then so that's kind of when I started taking that and then writing with it. And but yeah. So I wrote for my school, my college newspaper and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
well, I guess like I had this experience a little bit too, where I didn't start the next generation at the time until like, man, whenever Brutal Legend came out, 2009. So it's like a couple years of not having like a new console.
Wait, did you buy a new console
I bought my
for
PS3
Brutal
for
Legend?
Brutal Legend. Yeah, I was super into Brutal
How did
Legend.
that turn out?
I never finished it, but I thought it was great to listen to podcasts. Like I feel like I still have like the big talking points, and I think like the standout moments from like the early part of last generation, just from listening to so many podcasts, especially like One Up stuff back in the day. So like whenever somebody brings up like something like Too Human is a terrible example, it's like, oh yeah, I remember listening to them talk about Too Human for like
I know
an
exactly.
hour.
I remember what episode where they had.
Well, they had Dennis Dyack on for the infamous
that was
episode of One
quite
Up
an
Yours.
episode.
Everyone go check
You
it
guys
out.
know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's a deep cut. But I'm amazed by how easy it is for free to just listen to gaming podcasts and still feel like you're up to date and understand the big beats. You don't have
helps
to
fill in
play
the gaps.
everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there are kind of two questions at play here. One of them is like, how do you just like stay informed on this stuff? And I think that like all that does it. But like, if you actually want to like be in gaming journalism, like you have to play games.
Yeah.
Oh
And, like,
man.
And well, no, I mean, like, it seems like it goes without saying, but I mean, like you can't just read forums, you can't just listen to podcasts. Those are all great ways to like to supplement and I don't know, but yeah, like
And
you're
be
right.
involved,
You're right.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like to have your finger on the pulse of the community, but really like, and it sucks, but like you just have to make time for it. Like there's no easy answer.
It's just like doing research on anything you want to be an expert on. And like you have to at some point develop, and what I have now, this condition where the back of my head, I have a gnawing feeling that I'm analyzing every minute of every day of every week to figure out, okay, when's the next time I can play some more Destiny? Or when can I finally knock out Mad Max? And like, oh, and then that's just to clear up because I've never beaten StarCraft. Like, oh, that one's back there too. And it's just constantly, it's like this disease. And you just need to keep doing. And like what I think what Joe's hitting on, and this is good advice, is like when you have days off, like, I understand that in this case, he's saying he's super busy, but you're going to have that downtime where it's like, I'm going to just peruse my phone for a half hour or something like that. Like you need to budget that time and plan for it. Like you don't have a day off. Like, no, actually I can't hang out with you, Mom. I'm playing, Metal Gear that day and plan for it.
It was
You
during
can
that,
get out of your deathbed and come join me if you want
right.
to.
It was during that era. That was like the first time I ever set an alarm and woke up early to play a game, to play Twilight Princess. I was like, all right, setting 6 a.m. so I can get 2 hours of Twilight
There you
Princess
go.
in before I head to class.
responsible gaming.
That's right.
Though I will say too, like when I go through times like that, it doesn't happen that much. I think sometimes if you are a full-time student and have a full-time job, you maybe have to be okay with not be okay with not playing everything.
Yeah.
Don't get stressed.
picky.
Don't get stressed out by your backlog. Don't feel like you have to play every new thing. We all speak with expertise on the games that we do because like those are the games we play, but like not everyone, almost no one in our office plays every big game every year.
Yeah.
Well, Sir Andrew Reiner begs to differ, Joe.
And
one of the few.
Reiner probably plays knocks out more of them than anyone. But I mean I will tell you right now, I am not playing Call of Duty this year. It's just not.
you have to choose your battles. I probably won't play Assassin's Creed because I'm just not an Assassin's Creed expert. Maybe I'll dabble in it, but you have to choose your battles. And in this case, the advice I'd go to is like we're gonna have our Game of the Year stuff as we do every year, and when your school break is coming up and you're able to take some time off, look at the best games of the year and just try to prioritize those because those are the ones that people are going to be talking about for the next couple years from there.
Yeah. Just skim some Let's Plays and for the ones you can't quite make up.
And don't suffer play. I mean, like you don't have to play a game that you don't like.
That said, you should really get around to Fatal Frame on the Wii U.
Because like even then,
And if you
you've played enough,
Brutal Legend, by the way.
if you've played enough to fairly say why you don't like that game, now you do have an informed opinion on that game, and you have a unique perspective on it. And don't waste your time playing something you don't like.
Anyway,
as someone who played Final Fantasy 13-2 through its completion for myself, I should.
sir.
I played through it twice.
Well, you had to review it. You have an excuse.
You missed out on so many Call of Duties.
Oh no! But I mean, then I played it again.
Oh, okay. Now
When it
you're
came
dead.
out.
All right.
No,
well,
I
I
like
don't know what's wrong with you
Conversation
then.
for another time. So Pierre from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Hi, Game Informer podcast crew. Love the new format.
Thank you.
Pierre goes on to talk about how his uncle, who gave him an NES, noticed that he loved Mario and took him to see the Mario movie when it came out when he was younger. And he was even at a young age, very confused how they could have screwed that up so much. So Pierre continues. Recently, I watched the new Hitman movie, Agent 47, and was very thrilled. To my surprise, the movie wasn't a heap. Oh boy,
What?
hot
Hip
heap-
Hop Anonymous?
Hot Heat.
Let me try it one more
I haven't heard from
time.
them in a while.
So you guys choose amongst yourself who wants to talk over me. Hot heap of
Joe's turn.
rewriting. Hollywood nonsense littered with unnecessary plot changes. Plot changes. It represented its source material very well. This has prompted me to rewatch the recent video game movies and shows like Doom, Prince of Persia, Last Starfighter, Ender's Game. I don't think that counts. Video game high school, etc. So basically, the point here is the questions end up being: what games turned into live action movies did a horrific job of representing its source material, and why? And then which ones do you think could have a decent adaptation today?
I remember being on a school bus and my neighbor said, "Hey, have you seen the movie Super Mario Bros?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Super Mario Bros. It's literally the best movie I've ever seen."
Bras?
He called it bras. And like I was an age like, I know what a bra is. It's a very silly thing to say.
But did you know what Mario was?
Wow.
No, I was more familiar with bras than Mario at the time. So I ran, didn't walk to the local theater and was horribly disappointed.
Very nice.
No, I mean, like, I think you're talking about shades of terrible when you're talking about.
Yeah, maybe
the-
47, or like maybe the Hitman movie wasn't as atrocious as other video game movies.
Yeah,
I
mean,
Rotten Tomatoes begs to differ, but
Yeah, I mean, he clearly enjoyed it, and that's fine. But I mean, like, I don't think there has been a legitimately like good video game movie
I mean,
that's come out.
if he's talking about like video game high school, then I think like Scott Pilgrim is maybe the best video game
Correct.
movie.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it evokes so many of like, it gets the culture and the references right.
Wreck-It Ralph is up there too. I think it's fair to count.
Yeah, those are movies about,
Yeah.
but those aren't movies. Those aren't movies that like
Based on
have source
franchises,
material
yeah.
to
Yeah.
represent.
But in terms of just botching it, Joe, I think you'd be with me. I don't know if I've ever looked forward to a movie more than Spirits Within, the Final Fantasy movie in 2001. And like they had teases on their website where they'd like put new images up or like little crops of the scene and stuff like that. And I was just constantly waiting for anything Final Fantasy related. And then you see the movie and it's like, oh, there's a guy named Sid. And I think there's like a chocobo toy in the background of a lab. Like that is it for Final Fantasy connections. And it was so disappointing because, God, if it was just, I'm not even a fantasy guy, but if it was more in that kind of like fantasy vein rather than the sci-fi vein, I feel like they really could have capitalized on the license.
Yeah, I don't. I was not as crushed by Spirits Within. I don't like. I won't say it's good,
Right,
But like, I enjoyed my time with it.
I'm actually with you. I was crushed by the lack of Final Fantasy-ness to it, but I still think the movie has fun ideas, like ghost aliens that if they touch you, your soul gets sucked out. That's awesome. Like invading a planet from a comet or a meteor.
Yeah, the visual effect on that was kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I have one quick one on that because I've been talking about it for years. I really want to see like probably like Metal Gear Solid 3 specifically, a musical where each boss gets his own musical number.
That's actually not bad.
yeah.
I'd watch the hell out of that.
I'm on board with
I think
that.
it'd be
Yeah,
great.
and Snake Eater's the big.
Oh, the
number
big
at the
triumphant
end,
thing.
yeah.
And they just have the entire ladder sequence in full. That's like when that's the musical dance number.
That's right. You could see the actor on stage now, like climbing, but like the ladder's like feeding downwards.
Oh,
yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah.
still-
So it's
he's
just
suspended by his,
mean,
by his
yeah.
like wires.
Replaying the HD version, was it the Pain is the B guy?
Yeah.
Like he's literally on a stage dancing like during your fight sequence.
Oh, wait.
I mean, no one's gonna argue that Metal Gear can be super like theatrical.
Yeah.
Wait, so like when Ocelot, he'd be like killing bees with his guns to make like a beat every time like he hit a bee.
Yeah.
No,
We
he'd be
should
like
write
jazz
this.
hands, like.
Also,
See? Perfect. It's perfect.
would the
It
end
totally
just
works.
sing the Doors song? This is the end.
He'd just like hum or
It'd just
something.
be like a 5-hour stretch on stage. You just go like, where is he? Is that him over there?
Crickets
Is he a parrot?
chirping.
You know, Extra Life is coming up if you want to just create the musical of Metal Gear Solid 3 and have a theatrical production.
Let's
Get
do it.
on
Of
the
course,
theater door.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course, no one could forget the scene at the end where Naked Snake holds a gun to Bruce Springsteen's head at the end of he's the boss. Oh yeah, Max Payne is maybe one of the worst video game movies I've ever paid to see. Awful. Resident Evil, that series really fell down.
I like the first one.
one. Yeah, no, I liked the first one. I even defended the second one for a while because like, Nemesis. Here's all the stars like fighting Nemesis. Like that's kind of cool. But in hindsight, it's very bad. I would defend Silent Hill, like the first half hour,
I'll
45
defend that.
minutes
I'll defend that one with
of
you.
being
actually,
like
yeah.
really, really solid representation of what that series
forgot
is
about that, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember joking with a friend during Silent Hill. Now they need the scene where you check your map every 5 seconds,
That's
like
right.
in the theater, and then they had a scene of her running like street to street, checking the map before
That's right.
moving forward.
What a
Wow.
weird thing for
But
them
it
to pay
worked. I thought
attention
it
to.
worked okay.
Good question.
Mega Man.
Okay. Hello, my name is Nick. I am from Atlanta, Georgia. Longtime listener, first time writing in. I really like the new format for the podcast. I don't mind the length. Thank you. My question for you is on bugs and glitches in games. Has there ever been a game that the glitches or bugs keeps you from finishing the game? I had a terrible glitch in Skyrim playing it on PS3. The main story needed you to go and retrieve a weapon for one NPC. Then another needed you to pick a side for the quest to continue. Never could get it to go past this point in the story. I got so mad at the bug that I put it down for almost 6 months, finally picked it up and started a new character and just mainlined the story to finish it. I also got the platinum for the game as well. Thanks.
That's
for the
more than
awesome
just
podcast.
mainlining the story to
Yeah,
finish
Nick.
it.
Yeah, I think you finished it, Nick. But I was curious if you guys have ever just like had a bug or a glitch. Maybe it wasn't game breaking, but like invasive enough that it's just kind of like I cannot continue this.
This is what the hell was Helldivers. I was like, what the hell was that one good game called this year? Helldivers, when the expansion came out, like I was trying to like rekindle like, oh, my friends, we should get into Helldivers. Let's do this because this game's awesome. And the expansion came out and it was just completely broken and it just like completely robbed us of enthusiasm for continuing it.
It broke it?
Yeah, it just wouldn't boot up.
Oh.
I assume that they've patched that long ago because I know the game came out on disc and whatnot, but that really stopped momentum with that game, which is a bummer because I want to go back to it.
Yeah. That's it. I feel like I've been pretty lucky. I know Jeff Cork talked about like really liking Darksiders 2.
Oh yeah.
And he was just like this giant troll dude on this bridge just in that save. Like that game just has like the one save. And he's just like stuck on the geometry on a bridge and he couldn't get past it. And like he'll check up on updates and still never address that issue. And he was a good way into the game. And like that's going to take the wind right out of your sails.
Now he has to wait for the definitive edition.
Is that what they're calling it?
Yeah, it's coming out.
So say what you will about games released, like the buggy state that some games are released in, but I think that, well, it's not really a silver lining either. Just the fact that like at least we don't have many like show-stopping bugs like that. Like normally when there are like, I'm sure that like in QA testing, progression stopping bugs are the ones that like get the highest priority.
Oh, yeah.
So like, I wish that games did not release with as many bugs and glitches as they do to be patched eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that this is not a problem that we encounter a whole lot.
And then the weird thing is with PC is that like there's way more variables introduced with PC depending on what matchup you have in hardware. I remember a close call, which was when I was cramming for the Dragon Age 2 cover story trip, and I hadn't played through all of Dragon Age 1 yet. I'm like, I'm going to beat all this in like a week. And I did it, but like I got to the Archdemon fight at the very end, and one, I didn't understand that you can use like ballistas and stuff to take down like a good deal of damage. I fought the whole thing just raw. And I was maybe a little underleveled because I was trying to mainline this thing. And like I delivered the final blow on the Archdemon and just like hard crash on my PC out of that fight. And I'm like, oh God, where did it save? Like, and of course I had to do the entire fight again. And like, I didn't love that fight. So it was like a really close call where if that had happened again, I don't think I would have beaten it. And in the other case, I would have gone and like looked up on YouTube, what's the ending? But it's so tailored to what you did. I would have just felt bereft of every choice I made.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But thankfully that didn't happen.
Hey.
Okay, so next one is Rusty from Bowling Green, Ohio.
Bowling Green?
I didn't. This is what it says. Hi, GI crew. Video games are great. talking about video games is awesome.
Agreed.
How about we mix things up a bit, though?
Oh, God.
If you could see any band, alive or dead, who would it be and why? And hey, seeing as Guitar Hero Live releases this week and Rock Band 4 recently released, I think it's still somewhat relevant. Keep up the outstanding work, everyone. Love the show and visit the site every day. Rusty.
Guitar Hero Live or Dead?
The Beatles.
Man, this reminds me of
I have
a time in college where I was like heavy getting back into like, oh my God, like I really like Pantera. And like, God, I really hope that there's a chance for like, them kind of stepping away from their side projects long enough just to do a reunion tour. It seems inevitable.
Right.
It's always happening with metal.
Right.
And
right.
that was when like Dimebag Darrell was shot and dead, like killed. Like that very week that I was like getting back into Pantera, I'm like, well, all right, that's not happening. And that was a big time bummer.
What a stone cold bummer.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be fun to see Nirvana, I guess, at some point.
Yeah.
My mom saw the Beatles when she was 11. She snuck out of her house at 11 and saw them in San Francisco.
That's a good mom story.
She's cool.
Wow.
She's cooler than us.
Hey, cool mommy.
Hey,
I have,
cool
I have a
mommy.
band that I'll call it just because I hope maybe a commenter will be like, hey, I like that band too. But it's a band called Karate, and they're kind of like really, they're sort of jazz, kind of like almost going into rock, but they like have since broke up. The lead guitarist, he plays like folk music now because like he fucked his ears up playing that like really fast-paced jazz, so he doesn't like play that rock anymore. But one of my favorite bands of all time, Karate. Never got to see them.
Okay.
Would love to see them.
You guys ever heard of AFI? Nope. Sorry.
Quiet.
Listen to Ben Hanson and Jeff Cork's A Fire Inside Out podcast where they talk about AFI a lot.
Every Monday.
Queen is one that I
Oh, there's a
everyone
good one.
should
There's a
have
great
on
one.
their list.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like the easy one. Michael Jackson would be fun to see live in his prime.
You can see the
I
hologram.
don't know, all of my favorite bands are like, I've seen them in concert.
That's great. Look at
I'm not very musically.
modern taste
Harry
to
and the
you.
Potters.
Jesse in Phoenix writes, greetings, yeah, Tim and special guests. I love watching replay and super replay, especially when it involves Tim being at the mercy of horribly designed game mechanics or controls. Over time, I've noticed one recurring phrase that is uttered by Tim whenever he said whenever said obstacle is come across. Woof. I've always wanted to know if there is any meaning behind saying this, or if it's just something that is said when you have nothing else to say. Never happens. Also, does anyone else have a saying or quirk that they do when gaming? Jesse, I just wanted to say this because I don't.
Very specific question.
Allow me to give my answer.
Sure. The quote is, "Buzz, your girlfriend, woof." It is from Home Alone. Kevin McAllister picks up a photograph of not a very flattering photograph of his brother Buzz's girlfriend. Kevin McAllister does not find her attractive.
Full name, Mr. Kevin McAllister.
And he says woof, and it was really funny. And it's I don't know. I guess I just say it when it's like something's rough.
Something is unattractive in front of you.
We like a mostly game design.
It's a good phrase. I've noticed it infected my lexicon too.
Sure, and like I don't know. I brought that up because like I realized that that's so detached from the original reference at this point. I don't know if you guys have any other ones that you just catch yourself saying.
I've actually seen my daughter doing it now because she'll see me play games. If I'm doing well, I congratulate myself. I'm like, oh man, I got that jump. That's awesome. But if I'm doing poorly, I immediately put the blame on the character I'm playing as. I'm like, Mario, come on, what are you doing? And now like my daughter will like chime in with me and be like, yeah, Mario, what are you doing?
That's adorable.
But like I said,
He's trained her to be a little supportive parent
That's right,
type
that's
creature.
That's messed up. How adorable that is.
That's great.
Does she support herself? Does she say little self-congratulatory
she has been
things?
playing Yoshi on mellow mode lately, and she does kind of do that thing where she complains if Yoshi isn't acting the way she wants to, and but if she does well, she's like, hey Dad, look, I threw that egg really well.
That's pretty good. You guys have any?
It's probably a natural thing. I don't know. The one that jumps out to me, just from the replay era, is I think Reiner started it, but him going "get out of there."
Yeah.
If you're getting hurt in a game,
Get out of there!
Get out of there! It's constant, and I've noticed that I do it myself, and I've heard you do it too, Tim. And it's like Reiner has just infected all of us with like the go-to phrase in a game in any situation is "get out of there." Like, of course, there's games have conflict in them, and any time there's conflict in the game, you can yell
think
"get out of there."
Ben Hanson, you infected me.
Ooh.
And I have some
getting
paperwork
gross.
I need to show you from the doctor. It's very concerning. We need to talk. You're the father.
Infected you with a child?
Correct. They call it pregnancy. I don't buy that. So basically, You explained like a bad Dragon Ball Z dub to me at one point, where it's just like, is it just like seems that way? Where they're talking about that, and now I catch myself just saying that seriously. Like my girlfriend will like try to like talk to me about like, gosh, this is a really annoying thing that happened, and like, God, do you think that this is the case? Maybe, and I'll say it seems that way, and it's only because of you referencing that Dragon Ball Z thing.
Kyle, do you remember which episode that's in? There's just some character where like it's a constant refrain where somebody will just be describing a situation. The character's like, seems that way.
I mean, I hear Krillin's
I hear
voice.
too, but I don't know if it's that. Krillin, I always think
It's the go-to Dragon Ball Z voice, right?
Yeah, and in Budokai, every time you shot an energy blast, you go, "Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it?" And so I always have "Can you feel it" in my head too. I shout that out at games.
I'll scrub through the footage and see if I can find what you're looking for.
Please, thank you.
Pretty good. Last one. This is from Dan in Waterford.
Waterford.
Is that Missouri?
Are you just going to laugh at the names of the places?
This is the silliest town names of all time.
That's not Minneapolis.
Didn't you grow up in Spicer?
I grew up in New London. How dare you?
Oh, okay.
There's
And
a
it
place
was
called
new and fancy.
Dinkytown, like 5 minutes from this
It's pronounced
office.
Dinkerton.
Oh, excuse me.
There's also a legitimate place called Tangletown. It's all hilarious. Love the show. This is Dan.
Please don't insult the name of my town.
I can never get enough, and I can't wait every week to watch you insult a town name. My questions are to everyone. Does watching a TV show or movie make you want to play a game that is similar to what you just watched? When I watch hockey or football, it makes me want to play NHL or Madden. It's a real leap. I think that might be common, but my wife and I watched The Kardashians, parentheses, I know. In between scenes, they'll show views from outside LA, of the city or the mountains. Then I start feeling like I want to play GTA 5. Thank you again for the great show every week, Dan.
I think like watching a Western will get me in the mood for Red Dead.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this one reminded me of like the weird thing where I wanted to play Fallout 3 because of watching Mad Men and like the weird Americana and stuff and like idealized version of like the 60s and all that.
Yeah. Well, I guess in a similar vein, it was funny because we went to a film noir film, Postman Always Rings twice, up in Columbia Heights, Minnesota recently. And it was like, you were coming
Columbia Heights.
What a name.
Come on.
You were coming there from being super into Fallout and kind of wanting that Americana. And I was coming from the film noir angle because I was playing the Grim Fandango at the time. So it was like, we met in the middle.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then I guess the Japanese horror thing, like off of playing Fatal Frame, like it was kind of an inverse of this. But yeah, I don't know.
I just had, I just spent like 4 straight days playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So that's where I'm coming from. But playing that, it got me in the mood to like go watch
Mary Poppins.
From Hell.
Peaky Blinders again, which I finished on Netflix and I really like, and some Sherlock Holmes. I like that sort of, Victorian London stuff.
Another one, a smaller one, was like I watched the Star Wars trailer. And then I wanted to, and I tweeted and made sure that I was on CNN. No, I
tweeted directly at CNN, hey, check out this tweet.
When I watch new trailers, I just like really want to get on major news websites. I was like, I want to play some Destiny and shoot some damn laser guns. And like the sounds of the guns in Destiny are really good, and the enemy designs are good. And
you're trying to role play over the chat?
Yeah.
When the first trailer came out, I really wanted to replay Shadows of the Empire. I don't know why.
Nice. Actually, all that stuff really has me in the mood to finally get around to KOTOR 2 that I've never played. But just like, getting into the good old-fashioned Force story sounds really great.
Play it the way God intended and play it on an iPad.
I actually had the reverse thing of that happen, where I was playing Far Cry Blood Dragon, which I never finished. Yeah. I played like an hour and a half of that, and I was like, man, I really want to watch RoboCop. And then I watched RoboCop.
All roads in Joe's life lead back to RoboCop.
They really do. There's a lot of RoboCop.
Well, considering you pretty much just have the RoboCop gun in that game, it's like you're constantly being reminded of RoboCop.
Yeah, exactly.
So awesome questions this week. Keep them coming. If you've been holding off, if you've been holding off on sending an email, send it now. And even if it's not totally gaming related,
and even if it's not a question.
Right, even if it's not a question, if you're just like pitching out some cool factoid that you found that might spark some conversation. This week, we're going to give email of the week to Rusty. He just he was the one that talked about a band, totally not game related, sort of game related, just asking us what bands we
Are you trying to reward an oddity here?
I like the oddity. And I'd like to see some more of them, but I obviously keep the gaming related ones coming. But if you had one that you're just curious for our take on or something, that'd be it. So send an email to podcast@gameinformer.com. Rusty will send a little something, follow up with you, get you a little thank you in the mail. But did we want to take a second to talk about things on the website that we want people to check out that we think are pretty cool?
Heck yeah. Little plug section. Let's see. So we're still rolling out the Mafia 3 coverage. I hope people checked out that video feature on like the founding of Hangar 13 that I was talking about last week. Because I still
I think
think
it's called Who the Hell is, right?
Yes, the subtle name of Who the Hell is
Yeah.
Hangar 13.
Yep.
Had to get attention in some way. I don't think it worked, but anyways. But Jeffum, damn it.
Are you taking mine?
Yeah, the dumbest game titles of 2015.
Yeah, it's so good.
Jeffum is a very funny writer. He's a funny guy, but you will read his rating and be shocked how funny he is.
Just do Control F, Jeff Mark your Fava, and just click on all those.
But he wrote a feature just making fun of the dumbest game titles of 2015, which turns out there's a lot of them. You know the Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that, but it has a certain
There's one with like a
Japanese
pound sign
bent.
in it. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
It's funny stuff.
In that vein of kind of funny stuff, our intern Marcus Stewart, he wrote something about like the longest running video game narratives, which was kind of a cool angle that I hadn't really thought of. Just talking about like video game stories that hadn't been rebooted, that they actually have been like nursing these storylines for years, and stuff like Metal Gear or Assassin's Creed, things of that nature. Even like Warcraft's in there. And he just kind of took a look at like what kind of space that's creative narratively, and like the weird twists and stuff that's facilitated.
Does Warcraft count? Doesn't World of Warcraft kind of retcon stuff and kind of reboot things to a certain degree?
They sometimes change things, but no, they're referencing, Medivh opened the portal to like the Outlands in Warcraft 1. Like he's responsible for that.
He's answering your stupid question.
Okay, so it's still canon. It still
It's
works.
all absolutely canon.
Okay, great.
What? I forgot.
Anything cool on the website you want to point
Oh,
people
right,
towards?
yeah. We're just because we're heading into like big review season. We've got some reviews up on the site. Like we had Guitar Hero
Yeah.
and Tales of Zestiria went up.
If you like sevens,
Triforce Heroes.
Fans
Seven?
of Seven.
Triforce Heroes, by the time this airs, Assassin's Creed Syndicate should be up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots of good stuff out there to check out review-wise.
yeah.
Awesome. So next we're going to talk about the rest of 2015, basically.
Yeah, run down the calendar. We'll tell you exactly what to buy and how much it'll cost.
I'm excited to plot out the rest of the games of the year that aren't Fallout 4.
Exactly. Look forward to that. So a lot of games slid out of 2015 and 2016. That was like the big talking point. It was like, oh, what's even left for 2015? Turns out 2015 has been an amazing year for games, and we're just now getting to like the anvil that'll be dropped on your head.
Wait, okay.
we can
Gotcha.
rewind.
Life is strange.
Yeah, what
right?
timeline does that happen in?
Oh, that's a good question.
The
I don't know if
2015
So
C.
the first one on this list.
No, so
here-
basically we're going to run down all these holiday things. Briefly, this Tuesday, Guitar Hero Live came out, which probably mentioned. Matt Miller reviewed it. He wasn't able to join us in this podcast because these slots fill up quick, baby. But he gave it like a 7.5, and he enjoyed the guitar work. Just for a little rundown on Guitar Hero Live, if I can summarize his review. Joe, tell me when I'm wrong. He enjoyed the guitar, enjoyed the progression with the new instrument, everything like that, but that the in-game currency stuff drove him insane because the way you access a majority of the songs, like the good playlist, it has a free-to-play aspect to it where like there's a in-game currency that'll tick down the more you play the songs that you want to play. And so it's frustrating, but you can always tune into the TV show that's like constantly like streaming music videos and play along to those. But if you choose them, then it'll cost you this in-game currency. And once you run out of that, then you can slowly rebuild it or
just
just
seems
pay
like a
money.
really bad
I don't know
idea.
why you guys think that's confusing.
It
It sounds pretty straightforward to me.
Okay, so Guitar Hero.
There's Guitar Hero. Well, we need to talk about that next week. Next Tuesday, we got Halo 5 Guardians.
I'm
Kyle,
excited to play another Halo game. Let me tell you why.
do you think you're going to?
I think so, because I've been having a good time with Destiny, but I know that Destiny doesn't really end in a traditional sense,
Well, there's the Paul McCartney music video ending.
Well, obviously, everyone's playing to see that. but I'm just excited to play something that, it'll be a cool contrast to be having just now getting into Destiny finally and play something that's sort of a continuation of Bungie's, like, the formula that made them successful. And then, like playing a 4-player co-op game, I feel like I haven't... Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that this year has been incredible for, like, AAA co-op. In fact, I feel like I've been kind of missing some AAA co-op games. Like, I just don't... I feel like I haven't like been able to sit down with friends and play like a really good campaign co-op game.
Like Resident Evil 6.
Yeah, Yeah, man. No, it's good of you to bring that up. Well, at least that had local. I don't know if Halo 5 has local co-op.
It
probably does.
I don't think it does.
not.
That was
No,
that was the
two-player?
big thing.
Yeah, it was
no,
controversial.
that sucks,
yeah,
Yeah.
but do you think you're actually going to get 4 people together for Halo 5?
Yeah.
All right, you got Kyle. He's a Halo fan.
I am.
Wade will be playing it 24 hours a day.
Miller.
Matt Miller. Yeah, do you think that you're confident, though? Because I feel like it sounds great in theory, but actually scheduling that out for an entire campaign, there's just no way.
I mean, it's the thing with any co-op game, though. I mean, like if you have dedicated people who want to
Yeah.
play, you make it work.
Now you're making my you're shaking my confidence, Ben, because Dan Reichert, our former coworker and friend,
now Nemesis.
and also Brian Four,
Uh-huh.
2 dudes that are now roommates and play a lot of video games together, were asking you and I if we wanted to be, and I don't know. Dan's like, yeah, we're going to have to take a couple nights where it's just like, you got to do a couple hours. And
Yeah.
like, that's that night. And now I'm wondering if Dan's choosing the best guy in a.
Well, he sent
Halo
that
4.
text, and I was like, well, I don't know an Xbox One. I was like, maybe I could
that's
go into
right.
the office. So like, I felt like I was already stepping out of that conversation
sure.
to begin with.
Okay.
Get Kyle in on that.
Yeah.
I'll play
Anyway,
some Halo.
the only thing
5.
that makes me nervous is like the multiplayer component, and I don't like dive super deep into multiplayer games unless like that competitive component is like just absolutely just snags me. So we'll see if the multiplayer is different enough in 5. I don't know. Halo is a big game franchise that you love, Kyle.
Yeah. I'm weirdly not like super hyped for 5. I think when I have it in my hand, that's when I'll start getting excited. I
You're
went through
big on touching games.
Yeah, I went through the same thing with Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, I weirdly was not really excited about it, but like when your review posted, I remember proofing your review, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's like a new Metal Gear Solid coming out in like a couple days, and it just like washed over me. And I think with Halo 5, it's going to be like that. Like in a couple days, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, there's like a new core Halo game coming out. You know?
But I feel like you're a little bit lukewarm on Halo 4. I remember like playing multiplayer at your house and just.
Yeah, I mean, I've like my excitement for that series has certainly scaled down since like the release of 3. Like I think 343 has been doing a good job. I think they really have taken Halo and done well with it. But it's certainly I just don't have the same excitement for it anymore.
Those games to me are becoming less and less memorable. Like I can think of some moments from Halo 1, 2, and 3, and then once it's like Reach and beyond, I'm like Halo 4 specifically, I remember it reminds me almost of Gears of War, where it's like that was a fun shooter to play with friends. But as far as like standout moments, like Halo 4 is just this blur to me. I didn't even drink while I was playing
Not
it.
really I remember like going into 2, going into 3, I was like, what's Master Chief doing? Like what we got to find out what's going on with Master Chief. And I'm like, Master Chief's going to be in this one, right?
Were the Prometheans? Is that the name of the new enemies? And they had like the cool guns that would like kind of explode and then like rearrange like.
Yeah.
Right.
That
The
was, like, their
orangey dog
animation.
guys.
Yeah,
Orangey dog guys.
I'm excited for a fun co-op FPS.
Yeah. And also, we should point out that there's a test chamber on GameInformer.com right now and on our YouTube channel. That's a huge chunk at the beginning of Halo 5. So if you're interested in seeing an early look at that thing, check that out. All right. So the same day.
Just back quick. We did talk about AC Syndicate, but that comes out on this Friday.
That's right. Yeah, along with Triforce Heroes.
So if we were going to talk about Guitar Hero,
I'm more
wanted to-
interested in that one now that we've talked
Yeah,
about it on
me
the
too.
podcast.
God, we're all interested in everything that everybody else is talking about.
We're so respectful.
It's true. Too respectful.
Okay, what's
all
next?
right?
I think
so,
the next game we won't be
Speaking of
interested
disrespecting, coming out the same day as Halo 5, we have WWE 2K16.
Next.
All right. You mentioned Brian Voorhees, the community manager on that game.
Next.
All right, there we go. Moving on. So that Friday, or actually it's the next Friday then, November 6th, it's Black Ops 3.
I'll play that.
I think I'm going to play the campaign.
Yeah, I've played almost every. I didn't play through the campaign of Ghosts all the way, but Advanced Warfare had a fun campaign. I will breeze through that and probably play my 2 weeks of multiplayer that I do every year and have a good time with that, I hope.
Well, speaking of co-op campaigns, do you think you're going to focus on that one?
Yeah. Are they doing that one split screen? Or
That's a good question, Mega Man.
That's a Mega Man 8 reference. That's a good question. Well, we find those energy missions. We'll find out if it has split screen co-op. I don't know. That's also a good point. Like, there's one game that has split screen, same console. Is it
Battlefield? Battlefront?
Yeah, that's a weird one because it's so visuals are so good.
I think I remember hearing. God, it's probably wrong, but that Call of Duty does have split screen. I remember talking to somebody about how insane it is to get that split screen experience and all running at 60 frames.
wow.
Which they're in theory going to do unless you're on last gen.
I have some of that guilt where it's like, I'm kind of excited for Black Ops 3, but then I just feel like I didn't play as much Advanced Warfare as I probably should have. And I just feel like guilty for not having dived into it deeper.
I was the biggest snob with Call of Duty, and it wasn't until the Advanced Warfare cover story that I finally got through and played Modern Warfare 3 and Ghosts just for research for that trip. And it was like, oh, it turns out I really enjoy just like that good 7-hour experience, just blasting through it. Like, it's a good set piece spectacle that I thought I was going to be too highfalutin for, but no, it's a good time.
It's a cool ride.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed Advanced Warfare too.
Is that right? It's like a tantric action movie.
Okay.
It's like an extended, like prolonged action movie. The highs aren't quite as high. The pacing isn't always right there, but like
And more explosions.
there's more explosions. There's just more of it, and it's always really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm excited to check out the campaign. So.
Yeah, I'm really curious how this one does. I mean, it seems like Treyarch people see as the king of the Call of Duty development pile right now, even though people were really impressed with Sledgehammer. So I'm curious how these two stack up against each other.
You know, it'd be cool too, since there's like a decent amount of people that are on PS4 right now playing Destiny Online consistently. You know, we might be able to like find a few nights to grab people and play some Call of Duty together. And getting people together to play Call of Duty is always a little bit more fun than just randoms.
Yeah, definitely. All right, and then the big release that Friday as well. We have a Yokai Watch coming out on 3DS. That is Level 5's
curious about that one.
Pokemon-like clone, finally coming over to the States.
Yeah.
It's giving Pokemon, it seems like, a run for its money in Japan from accounts. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm curious
definitely.
to check it out and see how it works. And,
The battle system seemed really basic to me and not that great, but I think the visuals and like the presentation outside of that, it's kicking Pokemon's ass.
Any collection-based RPG that has a focus on making it easier to switch between monsters mid-battle, which is it seemed like Yokai Watch is kind of like one of the selling points on that. Like, even if it's a breezy Pokemon-like experience, and you're just steamrolling everything in your way, like a fourth into the game. Like, I could get behind that.
Yeah, definitely.
They're refreshing.
November 7th, Mr. Extra Life Day.
Oh,
just wanted to plug that in.
Yeah, no, that's
Mr.
great.
Extra Life Day.
On November 7th, it's terrifying because I haven't organized and published the schedule for that thing yet, and it's just getting closer and closer. But we are doing Extra Life. I think we're going to start at 8 a.m. and do actually 25 hours because there's a daylight savings time in there, and it ends up being the 24-hour marathon or whatever. So we finish Sunday morning, and we've always had a fun time with those. So we'll start streaming that. I think we're doing YouTube and Twitch. Is that right?
Yeah, and it'll be a bunch of different games. We're kind of rotating every hour or 2 hours, and then have a bunch of incentives for people to donate. Then that money goes to the Children's Hospital.
So it's Children Miracle Network Hospitals. It's Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare. Is the Minneapolis hospital that we play for. But it's going to be everything from like playing some Call of Duty and some, maybe Tack and I will play some Bloodborne together or something like that, all the way to like maybe play some Jackbox games and some old school multiplayer games like from bygone eras and stuff, classic games like that. But we always have a lot of fun, so you should come by and bring your wallet.
Come by that URL, please.
Yes.
And then that Tuesday, this is the behemoth. This is one of the biggest days in gaming.
Oh, sorry. Other thing about
right.
that. We are going to open up donations so that people can choose what we play.
Yeah.
Assuming we have it in the office. So there's going to be situations like that. And you can like donate to make us wear dumb hats and stuff like that. And we did like a rock band jukebox hour. And so there are going to be more interactive ways for you to kind of like donate and have fun with us as we stream.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of streaming from Game Informer, which not every outlet has, is like you can literally, well, not literally, you can choose almost any video game if you donate enough for us to play.
We'll
Like,
check.
we're going to have it in the vault.
Yeah.
Odds are.
Yeah,
we
there's
can
a good
get it up and
chance.
running. Just don't choose some Saturn crap or something like that. Anyways, but then that Tuesday, November 11th, this is the biggie. This is when we have StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, I should say, and Fallout 4
Pass.
from God Howard himself. All right, and moving on.
Say God Howard.
It's so funny because I have this page I can check for like our back end of our YouTube page that is just every comment on every video for Game Informer's YouTube channel. And just the enthusiasm around Bethesda's content from our Skyrim cover story trip is just surfacing. Where like there are so many people going back and watching old Todd Howard videos and just commenting like, Todd, have my children. God Howard, I want to lick your feet. Just like weird Todd Howard worship constantly trickling in through YouTube. So I recommend everyone go read some YouTube comments.
Yeah. It's a good
literature.
suggestion.
Always good. Yep.
End of the day, stressful week. You want to unwind, kick your feet up, especially if that content is about you and it's your face people are commenting about.
It'll certainly make you feel smarter.
Oh my God.
But Fallout 4, is that the biggie for all
Well,
you guys?
let's work up to that.
Okay. All right.
So first one was
Legacy of the Void.
Legacy of the Void.
The StarCraft 2 game. It's the anomaly there. It's maybe in a slightly different bubble, but there's still plenty
the
of
third StarCraft 2 game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That series that they announced a long time ago, that storyline's finally finishing. The storyline that originally was going to be finished in the 2010 version. So it'll be really fun to come to a conclusion on that. And also, like, it's going to be, I would imagine it's going to be a long while before Blizzard gets back to StarCraft. And so I feel like it's like a last hurrah for RTS fans to be like, you guys like StarCraft? Put your money where your mouth is. Like, let's all get in and play some multiplayer again. This is our chance to get back into it. So I'm hoping that these other turd games aren't going to tarnish my StarCraft time, and that people will have some free time in order to actually play the StarCraft 2 multiplayer.
So other turd games.
Other
Rise
turd
of the
game,
Tomb Raider.
Rise of the Turd Raider.
I am very excited for Rise of the Tomb Raider. I'm more excited for Rise of the Tomb Raider than I think like any of the other like single player action games coming out at the end of the year. I think besides Fallout 4, like I don't know if I'm more excited for anything than I am Tomb Raider. I think like what they did with Lara Croft is awesome. I'm excited to see how she like changes as a character. And they did some weird stuff. They did some weird, cool sort of like kind of spooky stuff in the first Tomb Raider reboot. There's some like cool, very atmospheric stuff going on in there, and like the way they build mystery in that is awesome. I'm just excited to go back to that. It's like been exactly the right amount of time for me. It's not, it'd be different if it was annualized. Like if there had been 2014 one, I might not be as excited, but the fact that it's been a couple of years has me really excited to do more with that.
Yeah, since early 2013, I think. Yeah, I'm totally with you. It took me a while to get around to Tomb Raider, but I love that last game. Yeah. And it's like, it's the most drawing thing that makes me want to buy an Xbox One this holiday season, actually. It's like, I gotta play Rise of the Tomb Raider. Maybe I can awkwardly borrow one. Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't think... Maybe I should play it on 360 as an experiment. That'd be actually, I'm on board for that.
All right.
Because then I can keep up with everybody else and also have the interesting angle. Like, here's what it's like on that thing.
Play the objectively worse version of the game.
For sheer experience.
Watch
the whole experience.
I save like $300, $400.
Watch some weird thing. The Xbox One version's like unstable and the 360 version is just like
flawless.
And
Hanson will love it. He'll come back and be like, I love it. It's so dumb.
Let me read you some of this dialogue. Oh no, the cliff face is falling down and I might die.
The frame rate's like 12 frames. It's great. It's funny. It's stupid.
You like the room? You should play Tomb Raider.
On 360. All right, specifically then, Fallout 4.
So we should preface this with saying that like we've talked about in the office about how like this year has a lot of like really good games. You're talking about Bloodborne, Witcher 3, Metal Gear Solid. Like there's some really, really, really good games out there, and all of them like have their strengths and their weaknesses that kind of put them on this even battleground for talking about Game of the Year stuff. And the sort of thing is like, well, man, if Fallout 4 comes out and is as good as it has the potential to be for like what Bethesda usually can deliver, and how good the game has been looking so far, like maybe it just kind of makes that argument easier for us.
Are you hoping for that?
I mean, like there's, you could go either way with that.
Yeah.
I love the Game of the Year discussions and arguments and how ridiculous they can get, and the hills that people decide to die on. Yeah. And sometimes they do die lonely deaths on them, and it gets, those conversations are enthralling to me. But there's also the side of it where, like, the year that Last of Us came out, and it was almost a unanimous vote for that being Game of the Year. There's something very satisfying about the office just having this unified vision, and it's just sort of dust your hands off and like, well, yeah, that's it.
To be fair, it wasn't unified that year. Joe raised his hand and said, BioShock Infinite.
Well, it was a great game too.
Then he died on that hill.
On The Last of Us year. But you're like, I'm not fighting it. It's fine, Last of Us. Like, let's go with it.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that little moment.
No, I mean, I think it was more like, I think BioShock was probably my personal number one. But when it comes to like, what should we as a magazine say is Game of the Year? Yeah, probably Last of Us.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I have never really gotten into Bethesda RPG, which I know is insane. Like
I'm actually with you.
I put like 10 hours into Skyrim. That's the most I've tried. I've started a lot, and that's the most I've really gotten into.
I put about 30 hours into Oblivion. I put like 15 or 20 into Skyrim. Like I recognize the value of those games, and I like appreciate how much goes into them. But like I just kind of get tired of it after a while. I've never really gone all in. And I don't know if Fallout 4 is going to be the one, but I don't know. It could be.
I'm really hoping that it grabs me. I'm hoping this is the one. But like, since I don't have that history of loving these series, like everyone's just losing their minds over hyper about Fallout, and I feel like I'm just kind of in a bubble. Like I don't feel a thing in life.
The one thing that makes me a little nervous is, so this summer I went and tried to play New Vegas, because everyone's like, oh, it's even better than Fallout 3 with all the mods or whatever. Like, so I got it on Steam and played, and like I just could not get into New Vegas. And I don't know if it's just something about the world, if it's something about the right. I don't know. I don't have
Was
no
it the
idea
age
what
of the
it
game
was.
at this point, do you think?
Probably not.
Was it Matthew Perry's involvement?
I didn't even know he was in it.
And to be fair, that one was
So it wasn't
Obsidian
that.
developed and not Bethesda.
Right, not
Softworks.
Bethesda, but what has me. It's like I agree. Like, man, Fallout 4 could be huge, but I have this like. I'm hoping that it was just a weird thing with New Vegas, and not for some reason that like for some at some point between Fallout 3 and now, unbeknownst to me, this sort of like post-apocalyptic landscape just doesn't hold the same thrill for me anymore. I don't know.
Yeah,
If I were a gambling man, Joe, I'd argue you're safe.
I think so, especially considering how into like Skyrim I got. But anyhow, that's my that's my thought on Fallout.
I have like a really different perspective than you, and that's because I've talked about it on this podcast. I've talked about it before, but like, I didn't play Fallout 3 until earlier this year, and Fallout 3 gripped me more than like anything in 2013 or to that point 2014 had. Like Fallout 3 years later was that 2008 release, and I played it in 2015 then. It just
Sounds about right, yeah.
it like absolutely enthralled me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was one of those games where like this was always like the benchmark for like, if I have to put the game down for the night and I take like the instruction book out and read it before bed and like go
Really?
deeper into like understanding systems and stuff like that. If I take that level with a game, like when they had instruction books, like that is like the sign that like I am really enamored with it. And the fact that that game, that old, still held up, and I played the 360 version, and I was just so deeply in love with it. I guess I'm going into Fallout 4 with like almost peak enthusiasm that I could be at this point in my life. Like, so I'm really excited for it.
Like day one, set a ton of time aside.
I may
Ignore
see
everybody else in your life.
if I could take a day off, I would. We'll see.
Feel that sickness coming on? Kind of
Yeah.
scratching your throat?
Yeah,
right.
I could get.
Well, hey,
down.
what about
get through
the
these.
next week here? We got Battlefront, November 17th.
Yeah, I'm excited for that as well.
I'm sure it'll be a good time. Shoot some things. Then
Star
that
Wars
Friday,
colored things.
November 20th, we got the hot release for Joe Juba here, Mario Tennis on the Wii U.
Ooh, Waluigi your main, or are you more of a boo guy?
I think he's just booing Mario Tennis. I think.
It'll be fun, but it's gonna get lost in the shuffle.
I
think,
disagree.
you know.
No, Jeff Cork is extremely excited for Mario Tennis.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, and on Battlefront too, like a lot of people after that beta, it seems that people are a little bit split. I'm like, some people are super pumped, and some people are maybe.
I guess I
not
got more of
as-
a negative vibe before that beta, and I feel like there was a lot of public sentiment that was like, "Holy crap, this is great!"
Yeah.
from that beta, more than I expected.
Oh,
So
that's good.
Maybe I don't know. Different reads all over the place though. So then, obviously, November 26th is Thanksgiving. I always like mapping it out. Like, what games are we playing over Thanksgiving? Probably a lot of Fallout still,
Yeah.
and Battlefront on the side. Sounds reasonable. Battlefront on the little side plate on
Sure.
the kids' table.
Yeah.
And then November 1st coming up next, Just Cause 3, which
Wait,
December 1st.
Oh, I'm sorry, December 1st. Yeah. Just Cause 3 seems like buzz is really starting to build around that. Like the more people get hands on with it and demos, it's like, oh, this could be a hell of a lot
It's
of fun.
sneaking in there too.
Yeah,
And
so
it'll be my
that's-
first Just Cause
That'll also
game.
be about a month, like almost 20 days or so after Fallout comes out. So people might be like eager to like play a new game.
And
you
not
know?
only that, the sort of hype machine surrounding upcoming games and stuff, like with Fallout in the rearview mirror, Battlefront in the rearview mirror, Tomb Raider, Halo, all those sort of behind you. I think people are still sort of like, what's the next thing to be excited about?
It might be a popular Christmas gift, assuming that people like are so excited for Fallout 4 that they just buy it, and then Just Cause being like, oh, I'm also looking forward to this.
I just worry about being so backed up from that huge
open world.
That's
You're an
true.
open world, man.
exactly. Like I still have to beat Witcher, and so like the idea of like Just Cause 3, it's like, oh, it's November or it's December, it'll be totally great, and you'll totally have enough time. Like I think it's going to be lost in a swirl, at least for us, of playing all these other games. But I'm definitely looking forward to it.
You also, I know it's not technically a new release, but like the Bloodborne expansion will be in late
yeah.
November as well, which is like, I'm absolutely going to stop to play that.
Yeah. Also, December 1st, we have Rainbow Six Siege for the shooter fans out there.
Does that have a campaign or is that strictly
No,
multiplayer?
it doesn't. No,
Yeah.
it's strictly multiplayer. I think it has like some standalone challenges or something like
That's
that.
another. I
but-
haven't heard much feedback.
It
from
looks
the beta
cool. I
on
think
that.
Bertz was looking forward to it from what I thought.
Yeah,
It's-
I think so. I think people are cautiously optimistic. I heard some mixed reports on like the terrorist hunt, which is like the big mode from Vegas that people really loved. And I guess in the beta, it's different just because like terrorist hunt, the thrill of it was like walking around these full environments and taking out all the bad guys. It's basically just co-op campaigns. or not campaigns, but just little challenges. And I guess with Terrorist Hunt in Siege, at least the beta version.
It's called Tarot Hunt now.
Okay, tarot card hunt.
Gotta save those syllables.
But the beta version, at least, it was all just in one house. So it's like a much smaller environment, like more interactive, but it's much more like clearing room after room compared to like taking out a pretty empty large city.
You see, that's the thing is like the focus of that game is what's kind of appealing to me.
Exactly.
It's just like get really good at either defending or attacking a small play. You'll get to memorize the map really well. That's a draw to me. Simplifying any competitive first person experience. That's why I veer towards Call of Duty more than like Battlefield. It's just Battlefield's kind of intimidating.
Right. All right. On that Friday, December 4th, we have Xenoblade Chronicles X for the Wii U, a gigantic JRPG for everybody.
But will people be done playing Mario Tennis yet to be willing to
That's a great question.
jump into that?
It's intimidating. Like just to cap this entire year off with like, hey, here's another gigantic open world experience. Have at it.
And
like
you'll play that one, right? I mean, you're
yeah.
all
I
in
like
on
Xenoblade a lot.
right? Yeah.
I'm a little bit skeptical about this one, I guess, just because it seems less story focused and like without like a strong protagonist, you can kind of design your own. I think they're going to be a little bit quieter going throughout it, which I'm not as crazy about. Joe, how are you feeling about this? Any chance you're going to play it?
I actually haven't played the original one.
Yeah.
So like, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
there's no connection, right? Like,
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's like, so I really like the Xenosaga series, but at the same time, yeah, I don't know. It's just like, I have yet to see anything about this game that really grabs me to be like, oh, that's one I need to play.
And having played, like I played Xenoblade Chronicles on 3DS with the new 3DS and everything, I gave it the good JRPG try, like 12 to 15 hours. Like I'm going to get my feet planted in this thing. And man, it just did not gain traction with me. And that is affecting my enthusiasm for the Wii U one.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I think it's a really ambitious project, so I'm really curious to check it out. It'll be fun to have something big like that on the Wii U at the end of the year, now that Star Fox is out of the running. And then Friday, December 11th, we have the other big Wii U entry, which is Devil's Third.
I am fascinated to see what that game is.
Well, this game's come out in
Japan.
just not
really?
here. It's
I didn't
out.
know.
It's out in Europe, and it's sort of gotten like savage.
Oh yeah, I've seen like the video previews, and this game looks rough.
Itagaki even went to Facebook and was like, "Well, I'm sorry that people don't." I really.
Really?
Yeah. The sort of argument was like these reviewers didn't play it online, and it's meant to be played online.
This is like
I hope you like it, even if the reviewers didn't. It was kind of what Itagaki
It's a
said.
Ninja Gaiden creator who left Team Ninja and then on his own made this game. It looks like it should be from last gen.
Yeah, it looks like it could be silly sometimes. Like it's got some weird stuff in it.
I'm on board. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Where do I sign up?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what it is. I don't know if I wouldn't say I'm excited about it, but like just to see what it is, this thing that he's been working on for a while. I'm
So
curious.
Kyle, your number one game you're looking forward to would be
So yeah, the question I posed before we started is like of these games, like
Yes.
if you could get, we've been talking about touching games a lot. If you could get one game in your hand like immediately, which would be the one that you'd want to like dive into?
Let's take Fallout out of the equation.
Really?
Oh,
Make it
really?
interesting.
Assume that we're all interested.
Because my answer is not Fallout anyway.
Okay, go ahead.
Mine is Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is the one that I want.
Okay.
Like that's the game I'm most excited for this year.
Same here.
Yeah.
Barring Fallout.
So for you two, Fallout's number one, and then what's your number two? Yours is Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you got?
I don't. Let me see.
Devil's Third.
I forgot
Devil's
what we
Third.
talked about.
Mario Tennis, obviously.
I'm going Legacy of the Void, even including Fallout 4.
I would have guessed.
That's your number one.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Boy, I think Just Cause 3 for me is probably
right.
number 2.
I would say that's my number
You
two.
like destroying stuff.
Yeah,
You're a destructive sicko.
I like
All
open worlds.
Great.
Yeah.
Is that a show, guys?
I think we
think it
just
is.
recorded a podcast.
A hell of a podcast.
And a video podcast.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube. If you never checked that out, just scrub it through, see what we look like.
Check it out. Even if you just are going to go back to the iTunes version, check out the
Leave a
YouTube.
comment about Todd Howard.
Give us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Tim really wants it.
I feel like I earned it. Just for me. Say it's just for me, though, please.
All right, thank you so much for listening or watching to the Game Informer show. Be sure to tune in next week when we'll have a new episode for you. See ya.